Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCP chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger roll with Atlantis.
Water towers can fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flight downside SCE off. Again, SCE off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
What's up, everybody? All around the world, good morning, good evening, good day, whatever time it is for you. Welcome to another NASA Spaceflight live stream. I'm Jack Beyer with NASA Spaceflight, and you can see here, as evidenced by the iconic spray truck, that they are rolling SLS back to the barn. As Hurricane Ian begins to bear down on Florida, NASA is taking no risks here, and rightfully rolling SLS back. So we'll be live as this massive rocket gets rolled back into the the VAB.
Thank you.
I don't want to make any enemies this morning. And yeah, we'll be answering your questions. So, of course, we've got the usual cast of characters. You just heard Mr. Chris Gebhardt, Assistant Managing Editor of NASA Spaceflight. Chris, as a Florida resident, my heart goes out to you. I know it's never fun to sort of be looking a sucker punch as like slow motion about to hit you in the face. But how are you doing this morning, Chris?
Well, thank you, Jack. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head for how a lot of people in Central Florida woke up this morning, especially given that the track has shifted significantly east, and the more recent model runs that are now coming out show this storm making landfall as a major hurricane in South Florida around the Fort Myers, Port Charlotte, Tampa Bay area, and the latest GFS and Euro models have it coming basically just barely north of the Kennedy Space Center between Daytona and the Cape. So it's not the best situation that we were hoping for here in Central Florida. It definitely has a lot of vibes to Hurricane Charlie in 2004, but I think we can all agree, based on the model runs this morning, there should be no doubt in anyone's mind at this point that NASA made the absolutely right decision to pull SLS from the pad.
Yeah, we'll have to get into the nitty gritty on that here while we watch rollback, because I have a few questions for you, and I'm sure our viewers do as well. But I believe the quickest summary I can manage in our Discord, you said absolutely the right decision at absolutely the right time.
Yep, and we'll get into all of that because I know there's questions as to how they made the decision and when. But yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of questions. But yeah, I definitely stand by that absolutely right decision at the absolutely right moment.
Cool deal. Also on this morning's stream, we have Das. Das, how's it going, buddy?
Tracking things with cameras, as you do early in the morning. I'm a sucker for these close-up tread shots, y'all, so we're going to see some tread shots.
Now,
That's how you know it's going maximum fastness, right?
I mean,
well,
I was surprised.
And it's fast. It looks fast. Like, I know it's slow, but it when you have a shot like this, it I don't know how else to say it. Sorry, it's early in the morning for me. It looks fast.
It does. Yeah, absolutely. It looks very fast right now, so we'll take it. But we'll be here sharing views with y'all.
Cool deal. And of course, not just us on the stream, we've also got Sawyer Rosenstein. Sawyer, have you been on literally every stream since you joined the cadre, or I guess you weren't on the yesterday's?
Almost everyone. I was watching yesterday's, and I wasn't on the last Starlink one, but otherwise, yeah, it seems like at this point I've been the SLS guy with as many of these streams as I've been on now.
Nice. Well, we're happy to have you. So thanks for joining us. Also, you're also out there in Florida, but you're a little bit south of the track, right? I don't want to dox you or anything, but I feel for you guys out there. I know, Sawyer, you're a little bit less in the path, but still, either way, I'm sure it's going to be a lot of rain and changes of plans and all of that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm down in the southeast, so we're still in a tropical storm watch here, but just keeping an eye on everything like the rest of us, and obviously hoping for the best for the people up in those impacted areas, including you, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Chris, you saying that it has Charlie vibes. I remember Charlie. I lived in Florida at the time. It was no joke. I mean, there was parts of Florida that didn't have power for I want to say weeks after. Like it was a whole thing.
It really was. It really was. And my heart just honestly, as a Floridian who is here, and Jack, I mean, I know I posted in our back channel. We're going to show it here in a minute, but I mean, some of the model runs that are now coming out from the local stations and these are based on what the Euro and the GFS models are doing are really showing like has the potential to really follow what Charlie did.
Yikes. Yeah, I mean, my parents are out in Tampa, so this is I think it's kind of hitting home for all of us here. But
Yeah.
as we
Hopefully
get
they are
into
safe too,
the-
Jack. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully they
yeah,
are
they're-
safe too. Yeah.
They are smart people and they are not messing around. So I'm not worried, but it's just not fun. Either way, if you guys have questions about the hurricane, the weather, SLS, or whatever, throw your questions into chat at NASA Spaceflight, and we'll see your questions pop up in our little software here. I have a question right off the bat. We were looking at the water trucks a second ago. Do you think, because there's a guy that like walks alongside the water trucks, do you think one of those people has ever gotten just like blasted, like standing 10 feet too far forward and just gets like blasted by the water like a giant super soaker? I mean, that's had to have happened like at least once throughout the years, right?
That would be funny if it did. That would be funny if it did. Although my brain sort of automatically went to also the fact of like there's probably like a checklist that they have to use, like check your blind spots or whatever
Yeah.
before you activate the water. But
Yeah, good point.
that would be
I just-
funny. That
Plus,
I just always
plus
imagine
it's initiation for the newbies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like stand here. You got to stand exactly here and then just get blasted. Well, it's because I always imagine the like it's like an iconic shot. Like if you're filming a movie with a rocket rolling out at KSC, you're gonna have like a super tight shot of that truck spraying water, and just now imagine in your head that slow motion shot. But there's a guy standing there just getting blasted by the water. Slow motion, super epic, just like right in the face. Anyways. We will ask real questions now. I will go through your questions here. I have I have some software that Michael brought up, and how about we jump right into it? Unless there's something that anybody wants to sort of unpack right at the start here. I mean, do we want to just start off with a why rollback?
Yeah, and Das, if we could pull up the National Hurricane Center's official track here that came out about 2 hours ago now at 5 a.m. and we can oh gosh, that's a hard word to say. We can sort of start to talk about why this was necessary, because we had
second, Chris. I'll have that on the screen in just a second.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to do a brief history with the storm. So this storm that became Ian sort of started as a little wave off of Venezuela with very good chance of development and favorable conditions in the Caribbean. The early models really started picking up on this turn to the north, getting caught up in a trough and a frontal system that was descending, and that stalled out over the northern parts of the state right now. And as the models continued to show that this was coming to Florida, the interaction between that trough and the frontal system and the lower atmospheric steering conditions, and it's really the lower atmospheric winds that are the steering currents for the storms, and basically all of the models really couldn't get a really good tight alignment on where this was going. And throughout the life of this storm, the track uncertainty after a couple of days, and even right now, sitting here, the track uncertainty for one day is fairly high. So right now, what we have is NASA made the decision to pull SLS from the pad yesterday morning based on what they were seeing in the models and the fact that the models still weren't quite into alignment. And what I want to prepare everyone for is when NASA made this decision, the official track from the Hurricane Center had this making landfall in the Big Bend region of Florida, in the Gulf of Mexico, where Florida sort of stops going north to south and makes that turn to go east-west in our panhandle. And that is not the track this morning. Absolutely not. Das, were you trying to say something there?
No, but I'm putting the graphic up now.
Yes.
How's that?
Yes, that's perfect. So all of that is to say, look at how much that has shifted significantly overnight. That is no longer a storm going into the Big Bend region or the Panhandle as a Category 1 or 2 hurricane. This is now a major hurricane making landfall somewhere between Fort Myers and Tampa, and then cutting across the state. Which means the impacts to the Kennedy Space Center are going to be a lot more than what were being forecast yesterday in terms of rain, potential severe weather impacts for the embedded thunderstorms that are inside the rain shield of these hurricanes. And that's not all. The most recent model runs are actually taking this further south at landfall and then bringing it basically across the Cape. That's the other one I posted up for you, Doss, in our back channel from one of our local meteorologists. So, as we see the water truck there, spraying down the crawler way here as SLS comes back, the models are continuing to shift this. And I would not be surprised based on this if we saw another shift in the cone of uncertainty here further south as the models continue to try to pick up on what is going to happen here in the short term. And another thing that's complicating this is it is starting. Oh, you can see them picking up the plywood or putting down the plywood there to protect some of the roadways as the crawler goes over the asphalt and everything. And then they'll be picking those up right away to make sure those don't stay there and don't go airborne during the hurricane. But I mean that's where we are. Yeah.
Here's that other track you were talking about. Let's see here. There you
Thank you
go.
much,
The
Joss.
animation, right?
Wow.
Yeah, the
That's-
animation. And now this is from Eric Burris. He is one of the local meteorologists here out of the Orlando NBC station. But this is the latest run of it's one of their in-house models for Futurecast, but this is based on a lot of what the other models are doing, and the GFS is also starting to kind of show some things as well. So when you start to put all of this together, I want to use this graphic from the local stations because the local stations are trying to tell us what we can expect, right? And they're trying to keep us up to date. I mean, but if you look at this, I mean, this is sort of the path uncertainty that we have of some of the model runs now are not showing that jaunt to the north anymore after landfall, but a cutter across the state where they cut across the peninsula from the Gulf to the Atlantic. And, this could go further south, like Sawyer. This could end up a bit further south toward you and south of the Cape. This could end up a bit further north. There's just still a lot of uncertainty with exactly where this thing is going to go and what its intensity at landfall is going to be. And this is the sort of scary part of this now. Now it's just sort of there is nothing else to do but just wait and see where it goes at this point, and hope that you have done what you can to keep yourself and your family and everything safe. And that's what we're seeing NASA doing here. Keeping SLS safe while also having given their employees time over the weekend and yesterday to prepare for this, which is another reason why we are rolling back so late and so quickly before the storm's anticipated arrival to the area.
Right, because there's still certain variables here that could impact exactly where that storm goes. I mean, it's going to be interacting a bit with Cuba as it goes over that, so we'll see if that weakens or changes anything. Then you also have the really warm waters in the Gulf of Mexico that could help intensify it, and it's one of those, again, it's better safe than sorry in this case.
Yeah, and this is another pretty interesting thing. The further south it remains, the more likely it is that it's a stronger storm at landfall because it's not going to get the interference with the upper level shear as it approaches the front and everything. So that's sort of the other catch-22 with this is the further south, the quicker it makes landfall, the stronger it's going to be.
I don't like it. Yeah. I would like all of this to be over already, but it's not yet. But everyone's going to do the best they can, I know, to make sure the rocket is safe and the people, obviously, also extremely, extremely important. You know what? I'm going to say it. More important. People more important than rocket. As much as I love rocket.
Yeah, and to put this into perspective too, the Tampa Bay area, Pinellas County, Tampa Bay, the prediction is for a storm surge of up to 10 feet in Tampa Bay. as this thing starts to make landfall. So if you really are watching this on the West Coast, I know we don't normally say this on our live streams, but if you really are watching from the West Coast of Florida where this thing could make landfall, please get away from low-lying areas. That is the biggest threat.
There's mandatory evacuations, I think, in Pinellas right now. That's exactly the county I grew up in and my parents are in. And it's no joke. Like you said, it's no joke. Is what it is. Shall we jump into questions?
Let's go for it.
Let's do it.
All right. Right off the bat, we were talking about the water trucks. Cooper is asking, why do they need the water?
Yeah, so this actually has to do with how the crawler crushes the rocks as it rolls over them. So the crawler rides on top of Alabama River rock from the state of Alabama in the U.S. And as it does that, part of the way that it cushions the rocket and absorbs some of those some of the weight and the mass of the vehicle is that the rocks are pulverized and crushed into dust. And that dust can go airborne and can get into workers' lungs as they're walking the 4.2 miles with the crawler as it goes back and forth between Pad B and the vehicle assembly building. So in order to mitigate that dust and prevent that and to help with worker safety, they wet down the crawlerway before the crawler goes over it, and then that prevents the dust from really getting up into the atmosphere.
Nice.
Atmosphere, air, like it's just
Yeah.
air around. Yeah, you knew what I meant. Yeah,
I mean, crushed rock that's basically like asbestos, right? Like you don't want to be breathing that.
you really don't want to be breathing that. No,
It's not
at all.
actually lined with asbestos, but you don't want to
but
breathe it. Yeah.
right.
There could be some hard stuff in it for sure.
Yeah. I've heard it explained as like the rocks in the crawlerway are actually part of the suspension for the crawler transport system. Like the energy that's expended when it actually crushes and pulverizes the rock helps spread out some of the energy from moving the thing. So it's literally like part of the system. They have to rake the rocks on occasion and turn them over and replace rocks and stuff like that. And they're literally crushing those into a really fine powder. Like if you ever look at the crawlerway right after it's crawled by, you can see exactly where the tracks were because it's like little crushed rocks where the tracks went, and then full rocks, like whole rocks, I guess, in other places.
Like it leaves
really cool.
like an imprint track, like just like boots on the moon or walking on a beach or something like that.
Yep, you got it.
Neil is asking, when do the rocks need to be replaced? A nice relevant question here to what we were just talking about. How, like you said, Das, they have to be raked and replaced. And is it like after every rollout they go out and throw new rocks on, or do we know how that works?
So to an extent, there is a replenishment after each rollout. Sometimes that replenishment is just going out there with a grater and sort of rearranging the rocks that are there to make sure the crawlerway is as level as can be, but also redistribute those rocks. And then when they do need to replenish with new rocks, right now what they are doing is they are actually taking the old rocks from the crawlerway, the part of the crawlerway that's no longer needed, that goes from the split, the A-B split, out to Pad A. They're actually taking the rocks from the path out to A and using those first. But then, when they need to, they'll get more river rocks from Jemison, Alabama, is where they come from.
As a reminder, the SpaceX horizontal integration facility is put pretty much smack dab on top of the crawlerway path up to 39A, so they're not going to be using that one anytime soon.
Nope.
Exactly.
Small digression, and just briefly noting that you can see a driver going into the cab there, just above the text CT2. Gotta love that. I just want to briefly digress and say, I guess it's not really too much of a digression. Either way, it's really cool that you could in theory have a job at Kennedy Space Center with NASA, and it's like, oh wow, you work in the space program? What do you do? Oh, I move around rocks. Like, how cool is that? It's not all like physics and calculus and rocket science. Like sometimes, it takes people to move some rocks around to get a rocket to space, and I love that. I really do love that, because it's people of all types. It's not just what you might think of as like a stereotypical rocket scientist. It's also someone who might also be have an interesting degree or what have you, or not, just moving some rocks around.
It's a rock. it, scientist.
Stop it.
Hey,
Stop
good
it.
morning.
If I had said that, you would have been like, "Can we mute Jack?"
I would have asked. I know I can mute you, so.
Oh man, I would never dare even thinking of muting you, Das, even if I could, which I can't. For the record.
Look. Do you know how patient I'm being, waiting for it to go off frame so I can reframe this camera?
Thank you.
This is my life right
Thank
now, is
you.
waiting for it to go off and then give you a few frames so when you edit it, it's
Yes.
not like, oh, it goes off and it immediately ends. So this is
No,
my
you-
patient life right now.
You know the drill, and I appreciate you you abiding that request there, because that full unbroken time lapse of it scooting back is going to be pretty cool. But I know you need the camera, but hang in there a little bit longer.
Yeah, I am. I'm hanging in there for it to go off frame.
Like the kitty in the poster. Is that a real poster? Or is that just something out of Futurama? Hang in there. It's a cat.
Oh,
on the
I've actually
clothesline.
seen it.
Okay, it's a real. Okay, good.
It's real.
Thank you, Slayer. See, you fit in perfectly. Space AU is saying, is there a launch date after the hurricane? Space AU, I think we're just sort of in get through the hurricane mode, and we'll figure that out afterwards. Chris, is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment for a couple of different reasons. One, the first thing that will need to happen after the hurricane has passed, after Hurricane Ian has passed, is the damage assessment team will need to figure out what is damaged at the Kennedy Space Center, what needs to be repaired. Do they need to get power restoration or water restoration back before they can allow workers back on site? So it's not like the storm just passes and everyone returns to work the next day. The center needs to make sure it can properly support people. And I believe it was Hurricane Irma in 2017 when it came over the Space Center, where it took out one of the water lines and people were not allowed to go back to work because there was no running water. So, there's going to be those center damage assessments that need to be made. And then after that, then it sort of becomes the, okay, now what do we need to do with the FTS, the flight termination system? They definitely need to redo that now that they have come back to the vehicle assembly building. What are some of the other life-limiting items that they might want to swap out while they are in the VAB?
The poor CubeSats. Like, can we charge up some of those poor CubeSats?
The CubeSats, they said
I doubt
they would,
it, but
they said they would consider it based on the schedules and to see how it all sort of aligned. I feel for the CubeSats. They did know this was a possibility as the secondary payloads on this, but yeah. So all of that is to sort of say, like, I would personally be really shocked right now if October is still on the playbook for them.
A tweet, Chris.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just in case October is in play, here are the launch periods that we sort of have coming up. October 17th through October 31st. Most of those are at night. Do take note of the timings here, because as we move into the winter months and the winter solstice here in the northern hemisphere, our launch windows become more nighttime than they do daytime. So that's not a constraint to lifting off. They have said before that while they prefer to lift off during the day, that they would lift off at night if it came to that. So here's sort of what we're setting up for over the next couple of months. But October might be a little too soon to get back out and have enough time to do a couple of attempts, because if you look at this, say you want to be back out by October 21st and have that be your first launch period. Well, that means you're rolling out on the 11th, the 10th, or the 9th of October, and that doesn't seem like enough time to get into the VAB, get the platforms around it, get in there, do all your FTS work, do your other stuff that you need to, and get back out. So it very well might be the November period that they end up going for here.
Makes sense.
And it is getting close to the VAB here. It's approaching, not approaching the LCC. The LCC is sort of in the front of the shot there, but there you can see the meatball on the side of the VAB. The doors are open over there, and it's hauling the mail.
Indeed, and it will stop here because they will need to swing the crew access arm around to get it ready, because once they're in the VAB, they can't move the arm. So they'll need to swing the crew access arm here around the side hatch of Orion before actually moving the final few feet into the vehicle assembly building.
If you see it start to move, let me know, and I'll see if I can get a close-up of it going.
And they had first motion just after 11:20 last night. So 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we are approaching hour 8 of this rollback, which is about right for how long it takes to get to Pad B from the VAB and vice versa.
Cool.
Indeed, cool. What a crazy looking rocket. Let's see here. Julian Horn is asking, what's the total mass of the crawler and its load? Do we have those numbers handy?
16 million pounds.
That's insane. No big deal. Just 16 million pounds scooting along.
Yeah.
Kylie Williams, thank you for the support. We see a couple super chats coming in. Thank you, Kylie. Saying, I hope you all are safe over there, folks. Take care. Thank you so much. And Jerwaf with a $42.42 coffee fund. Thank you so much, Jerwa. You are awesome. OG Tank Watcher. Definitely enjoying coffee this early morning. So thank you so much for the support there, both of you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Michael
thank you.
is asking, will there be NASA staff in the vehicle assembly building as the hurricane passes? What's the deal with like the ride out crew? That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, indeed. That's exactly what it's called. I would have to go to see exactly where the ride out crew goes now. They used to be in the Launch Control Center, the LCC, which you see there. But there are other buildings at Kennedy that are now rated to withstand stronger storms. So the ride out crews might be, like, for an example, they might be in OSB 2 or the new headquarters building or something like that. So I'm not entirely sure where they ride it out, but they would not be in the vehicle assembly building. No.
Philip on our back channel saying probably in the LCC.
Yeah, probably the LCC. The only hesitation I give there is, the LCC used to be the most secure building, but like I said, some of the other buildings now are built to withstand stronger storms, so maybe in there, but the LCC is traditionally where they've been. Yeah.
We did weight of the crawler and its load. How about we go into fuel economy? I know we always get this question. Zach's N1234 is asking, I wonder what the fuel economy is. It's got to be gallons per mile, not miles per gallon. It's like, what is it? It's like 3 gallons per mile or something? Or it's more than that, huh?
It's it's measured in feet, not miles.
Oh, fun.
Feet per gallon.
Yeah, it's feet per gallon. Sawyer, have you heard the figure? Because it's a good one.
I have not.
It's 42 feet to the gallon.
I love it.
Should have figured that's the answer.
You don't really want to be pulling this thing up to the gas pump. Let me put it that way.
So what you're saying is it's almost more efficient than my Land Rover.
Almost.
Oh, man. Let's see here. Aaron is asking, how does the mobile launch platform sit on the crawler? Does it have big locator pins? Like when they roll the crawler under the mobile launch platform, was there some kind of interface there?
No, there is absolutely no interface. The crawler doesn't plug into the ML or vice versa there. They have ways that they can access the mobile launcher, like people can move from the crawler up to the ML and everything like that to get in and to get on and off of it as it's moving. But there's no pins. There's no there is no real connections that I'm aware of between the crawler and the ML. It's a flat surface on both that they sit upon. The pins and the sort of guide pins are on the ML for the posts. So when they set it down on the posts, either in the vehicle assembly building or at the launch pad, there are little guide pins there.
I have a question based on this question, and that is, let's say right now, heaven forbid, but let's say right now the crawler has an issue, but it's not like a catastrophic issue where they have to immediately stop. Would they be able to like set the platform down and swap crawlers out, like right here, or is that something they can only do at the pad or inside the vehicle assembly building?
You are correct on the second one. That's they can only set it down at the pad or the vehicle assembly building. There are no pedestals along the way to set the ML down. So once one crawler has it, it's got to go somewhere else if they need to switch crawlers, which actually happened during the shuttle era when they were trying to roll Atlantis out one time. She got like a mile down the crawlerway, and the crawler they were using had an issue. And they had to inch her back to the vehicle assembly building to swap crawlers to take her to the pad.
Wow.
Always seems to be Atlantis getting the short end.
Really does.
Yeah, what is the deal with that? And Philip in our back channel is saying there's only one crawler qualified to handle this heavy load, and that is Crawler 2.
Yes, and that's the other part of this, right? Crawler 2 was the only one modified to carry the full SLS stack out to the pad. Crawler Transporter 1 could take an empty ML, not ideal, but could do it. But cannot take the fully stacked SLS anywhere.
Got it. And Kalaman is asking, how fast is the crawler going? It kind of looks like it's going pedal to the metal here.
Yeah. So you want to take that one?
Sure. I believe at its current weight, carrying SLS and the mobile launcher and all that, you're talking a max speed of about a mile an hour, but it can get up to a whopping 2 miles per hour if it is not carrying the mobile launcher.
Wow. Well, whopping
And it's even
2.
slower, by the way, when it is going up or down the hill that brings it up to the actual launch pad at 39B.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here.
I've actually got a good question that's kind of germane to what we're seeing with the forecasts right now.
Sure.
Froggy in chat is asking what category storm is the vehicle assembly building rated for, and this is a very good question. The vehicle assembly building and the launch control center are rated to Category 3 level hurricanes. Approximately 120, 125 mile per hour sustained winds are what those structures are designed to withstand. That goes the same for the former shuttle processing facilities, one of which is where the Starliners are right now. Are built to Category 3 specifications, and then the newer buildings, ever since Charlie, Francis, Ivan, and Jean in 2004, per Florida State building codes, everything has to be built to withstand a Category 5 now. 155 mile an hour winds and above to a certain extent there. So things like SpaceX's horizontal integration facility at 39A and 40 are actually built to withstand stronger storms than the vehicle assembly building and launch control center are. So earlier when I was sort of saying like, oh, the LCC is normally where the ride-out crew goes, but there are now other buildings that can withstand higher wind fields. Maybe they go there instead now. That's sort of why I hedged on that just a little bit. But in essence, yeah, the older structures, the more original buildings we think of at the Kennedy Space Center were built for Category 3 rated hurricanes because that's what the building codes were in the 60s. And, while we certainly had large storms back then, nothing like what we are seeing.
Yeah, it's sort of, things have taken a turn, let's say.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Oh, and you can see it there. They are making the turn to align with High Bay 3 right now.
Speaking of taking a turn. Let's see. Yeah, and right here, we had that question also in chat. Christopher West asking what's the maximum wind speed. Good stuff. Let's see here. Are they still worried about vibrations from the rollback? Zaxxon is asking that because it seems like they have their foot on the floor here. I mean, that they definitely made good progress this morning rolling it back. What is the concern with vibrations from the roll, and how many times SLS can endure that, and all of that? What's the thinking there?
Yeah, Sawyer, you want to start with that one?
I'm sorry, I cut out for a second. What was the question?
Are they still worried about vibrations from rollback? I know that there's like they can only roll so many times.
Right. I mean, there's still always going to be a slight concern over it, but the vehicle is rated for enough of these rollbacks still that we're not at a point that it's a detriment to the vehicle itself. I mean, there's obviously the idea that you're sitting right on top of the mobile launcher and that the only thing right now keeping SLS on that launch area is its solid rocket boosters, which are carrying the majority of the weight. But that's, as of right now, there's always a slight concern, but it's theoretically should be okay.
I'm gonna be like the Fight Club narrator for a second here and be Philip's voice on the stream. I am Philip's voice. He says in our back channel there is no easy answer for how many rollback trips. So I mean, we are getting sort of I'm noticing a trend. There's like a subset of questions asking about the seal, asking if rollback will affect the seal. Like right
Yeah.
here, Tinker It Forge is saying, will this reset all the work on the leak? Is the seal that was leaking one that was disconnected for rollback? No, it's the seal you're looking at right now on that tail service mast umbilical. Literally the exact one that we're looking at right there, right?
Exactly. That is the liquid hydrogen umbilical that we are looking at. So those seals that leak, that's exactly where they are. Yep.
Good
I
timing.
just clarify, as Philip did point out on the back channel, that there are other things holding on to the vehicle that are keeping it there, but not specifically holding it down onto the actual launch area.
Got it. Yeah, it's not like the shuttle where there's like the big bolts and everything. It's just sort of sitting there.
Exactly.
You know, that's really sweet, Spaceflight Scotland. Spaceflight Scotland says, stay safe, Chris, NSF members, and all viewers in the area. I think we can all wholeheartedly endorse this statement. Thank you, Spaceflight Scotland.
Thank you indeed. And yeah, we will. We're not we're used to them. We know we know how to stay safe.
Gosh, that is such a cool shot on the left. Go ahead, Das.
I was gonna say, how'd you like to ride the crawler transporter with the rocket on it back all the way from the pad? There's
I would
people
love it.
walking around there. It's the craziest thing to me.
It is. I keep meaning to mention that whenever we see people. Of course, there's none right now, of course. But we've been seeing people walking around on the platform. There we go.
There you go.
What I love about this is, one, it gives you a sense of scale for the whole rocket, which is absolutely insane. For some reason in my head, I never thought of the engine nozzles as human-sized. But it also gives you a sense of scale for the photogrammetry markings. The photogrammetry markings are big.
Yeah, they are. They really are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And Das, to your question about how would you like to walk around on the platform as it's being moved, you know how like when you're on a boat for a bunch of hours, you get like kind of get like sea legs when you get off the boat. You still feel like you're rolling around and stuff. I wonder if it's the same for if you're like on the crawler for 6 hours, you get off the crawler, you like have crawler legs.
You get your CT legs.
Hey,
Hey.
you're on form this morning, sir. I see you. Let's see here. Rambo asking how much further left does it have to go? I mean, you've seen it, Rambo, in some of these shots. It's sort of making the last turn and heading into the barn right now. How much longer do you think it's got to go? Chris?
Right?
Probably about an hour, because they're going to need to stop and swing the crew access arm over to the side hatch of Orion before they go completely in. So I'd say maybe an hour and they'll be in.
Cool deal.
This is kind of cool. I mean, we're doing like full robot camera mode right now. All the camera views that we're showing you, I'm controlling them all sitting at my desk in Charlotte.
How happy does that make you?
Isn't that crazy? Like, here, oh, you want a camera on the swing arm? There you go. Oh, you want to see how far it has to go? How's that? Oh, people walking around? We can do that too. Like, these are all remote control robotic cameras, and I'm literally just having a field day pointing at different things. So if we see something else we need to look at, tell me. I'm trying to like, we talk about vibrations. Zoom in on the arm.
No, I'm loving this.
Yeah.
This is the very definition, chat, of kid in a candy store. It's Das in a robot camera factory. I got nothing.
Either way.
Oh man,
good stuff. Paul D is asking, all this additional movement, can it cause additional leaks? And Philip in our back channel is noting The cause of the hydrogen leaks was not linked to rollout or rollback, as far as he knows. But
Right.
certainly, it's not a benign environment with absolutely zero vibration and zero effect on the vehicle. In fact, potentially the opposite, right?
Yeah, exactly right. And what Philip said there is correct too. It is important to point out that NASA has not said that the rollout was the cause of any of the leaks. The sort of closest they've come to talking about the rollout in relation to those is on the August 29th launch attempt for SLS, the first one, when there was a small leak in the purge can area, and their turn it off, turn it back on again for the flow worked and reseated that seal, and they were able to keep going on that day. After the fact, and the few days that they had to look at it, Charlie Blackwell Thompson, the launch director, did note that some bolts in there, they went and retorqued them and discovered that they had come loose. Did they come loose because the crawler jostled them with the vibrations? She wasn't really willing to go that far. But in terms of the vibrational loads through the vehicle, that's one of the things that they're concerned with and monitoring. Is how I would phrase it.
Got it. It's David James is asking, has a hurricane or tornado or other natural weather event ever damaged a rocket? Speaking of Atlantis getting the short end of the stick.
Yeah. So to my knowledge, no, in the sense that so I'm going to take hurricane first. In terms of a hurricane, I mean, maybe when they've left them out, when they've been small little tropical storms, maybe they've had to do some cosmetic repairs out there. That's certainly possible, but no large scale damage from a hurricane that I'm aware of. No damage from a tornado. We've been lucky in that regard. Of course, tornadoes have to hit very, very specific to really affect you, in that they're not as widespread as hurricanes. However, we've been talking about poor old Atlantis in all of this today. And Atlantis actually holds the other distinctive record for this, most damage to a space vehicle from a natural weather event that we are aware of, in terms of damage on the ground. In February of 2007, Atlantis was on the pad for STS-117 when the most intense hailstorm Kennedy has experienced went right over 39A and put 7,000 divots in the foam of the external fuel tank. Even though all the weather protection systems were around Atlantis at the time, 26 thermal protection system tiles were damaged and had to be repaired by it. And that necessitated a rollback to the vehicle assembly building and creation of new scaffolding, new procedures, flying in tools from the Michoud assembly facility in an effort to not destack and try and save the tank. And they did. And 3 months later, Atlantis lifted off. But she also holds that distinction to most rollbacks for a hurricane. The crawler broke down on her one time and then got just pelted by hail.
Okay, hang on. Bear with me on this one. Do you ever watch the Mythbusters back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You said divots on the external tank from the hail, and my sleep brain immediately went to the divots on a golf ball. Remember that time?
Yes.
They tested to see if you put golf ball divots on a car, if it got better gas mileage. What if this incident with Atlantis was like our way to discover, like, oh my gosh, we got even better ISP on the rocket?
That would be funny.
Anyways.
Hey, she got there a little bit quicker.
Yeah, right. We have more fuel left over than we thought. Okay, I'm stupid. Let's move on.
And my understanding also is that if you're not talking about this fully stacked rocket itself, there have been other things, like even with SLS, with the tornado that went through as they were working on the core stage for SLS.
That's true. At the Michoud assembly facility, yeah, they had the tornado that went through there. You're right, yeah.
Which assembly facility, Chris?
The Michoud.
Bless you.
You walked right into that one.
I did.
I'm going to keep doing that joke because I'm stupid, but I love it.
I
Anyways,
fell for it
moving
my
on.
first stream.
I knew the best part about this one is Sawyer. I knew you were going to anticipate it, and so you just get to watch the train wreck slowly happen. Jian Wood or Yan Wu. Sorry, I'm probably butchering your name there. They're saying, what are the wheels powered by? It's all diesel electric generators, right? Question mark?
Yeah, it's like a train. So trains are these huge diesel engines, and they power electric generators, and then it's electric motors that actually drive the wheels of the train on the locomotive. And it's the same sort of thing here. They're big, massive diesel electric generators sort of slung underneath the crawler, and they power these massive electric motors that actually make it crawl forward. I have a funny story about it. I was out on a NASA social once, and we were walking around underneath there pointing out, oh, here's these. We just upgraded all this stuff that they did, right? And you see that hole in the front of the crawler, sort of like
Yeah.
trolley or whatever, right? That big
Yeah.
circular hole right in the front of it. There's two on the side. Brilliant as I am, I had my cell phone with me, and I'm on NASA Social, and I'm like, wow, I really want to look in that hole. And so I take my cell phone, and I stick my hand inside of that hole.
Oh my god!
I think it was on the inside, though. It wasn't the outside facing ones, but they're the same things on the inside. And I stick my hand inside of that hole, and wouldn't you know, of course, I'm like, whoa, 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 and I almost dropped my phone inside of the track of the crawler transporter. I don't know if I would have told anybody. I'm like,
Would've
well,
been a cool
that's
video.
gone.
If
Yeah,
you managed
right.
to get it back, it would have been a cool video.
If you go to NASA Social, don't do that. I didn't actually drop it. I just wanted to see what was in there. Answer, it's grease. It's literally just filled with grease in there. But I saw those holes and I was like, man, that's like that time I almost dropped my phone in that hole.
Yeah, Alicia in our back channel. Hi, Alicia says grease everywhere. in
Yeah.
all caps.
I mean, that's basically it. I mean, she's making the joke that you made does, but that's true. I mean, that's it. There's so much grease, and it's so thick of what they use for this crawler. It's yeah.
Yep.
Good stuff. Let's see here. Ghost Dragon says, until which Artemis are we going? How many missions have been, they say founded. How many Artemis missions will there be? How about that?
Well, contractually, we're out through 9 right now in terms of what Northrop Grumman and Aerojet Rocketdyne and have been told in terms of production of the RS-25 engines and the solid rocket motors and the soon-to-be upper stage engines for the exploration upper stage, which will take over from the ICPS upper stage on Artemis 4 and beyond. So out through 9 are what are currently on the planning books and where contracts have gone out for. And actually, I want to go back to one thing because I maybe I misunderstood the spirit of the question, but we had a question about has a hurricane, a tornado, or something ever damaged? And Sawyer, you mentioned the tornado that went through Math in Louisiana when the core stage is being built. Also worth noting, Hurricane Katrina really damaged one of the shuttle external fuel tanks as well, but they were ultimately able to repair it, and it flew with the Katrina tank, as it was known, flew on the second to last shuttle flight.
Can we just, I know it's like doesn't help to sort of go ostrich mode and bury your head in the sand, but let's not even think about Katrina right now. I don't want any Katrina vibes, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. A little bit off topic, but relevant to the hurricane discussion. DJ Straylight is asking, does SpaceX have all the Falcons in the barn before the hurricane hits? I think that's kind of a no-brainer, yes, right?
Yeah, there's no Falcon at 30 on the pads at 39A or 40, and they would remain in there for hurricane protection. Atlas V is fully stacked in the vertical assembly building for the SES 20 and 21 missions. That are theoretically launching on the 30th in 3 days. We will see. I highly doubt that's going to happen anymore. But so Atlas is fully stacked in the VIF. There's Delta 4s in the horizontal integration facility out at 37B as well. So yeah, all of them will stay nice and buttoned up and protected until the threat has passed, or the threat of a threat has passed, if that sort of makes sense. Also worth noting too that Relativity did pull did pull Terran from the launch pad as well.
Oh,
and
no
also on
kidding.
our fleet cam, you can see that there is still a Falcon 9 booster that is being wrapped up at the port right now.
Yes, and that's actually a good point. The crane had been assisting a ship that was docked there for the last few days, and that ship is now gone and out of port because the port is trying to clear out as much as it can as well. And now you can see the crane there is now attached to the lifting cap of Falcon 9, so they'll be getting this one down, like you said, there, Sawyer, and over to the Roberts Road facility.
Small complaint. Can they make the crane look a little bit different than a Falcon 9 first stage booster?
Yeah.
At a glance, I'm always like, oh, there's two. Oh, wait, it's a crane. I'm an idiot. Anyways. Let's see here. Space AU is asking, will SLS Block 1B, if it ever comes to life, use the same mobile launch tower as Block 1? That's no, right? Because it's there's different hookups in different places.
Correct.
And it's taller.
Yes, indeed. And you hit the nail on the head there. We also need to make it lighter than the current ML for the upscaled version of SLS with Block 1B. Yeah, there will be another one. This mobile launch tower will only be viable for Artemises 1, 2, and 3. After that, we will need NASA will need a new mobile launcher to accommodate what you said there, Jack. But also, this mobile launcher that you are looking at right now is actually a holdover from the Constellation program. It was the original mobile launcher for the Ares 1 crew launch vehicle, the single stick configuration of the Constellation rockets. And as such, this is actually a little heavier than if they would have outright been able to just design it from the ground up for SLS on its own. And if they had been doing that, they would also probably have had the ability to extend it, to lengthen it, to do all of that. But as it stands, if they were to try to do all the modifications to this mobile launcher for the SLS Block 1B, it would that with a fully stacked SLS Block 1B on it would be too heavy for Crawler Transporter 2 to take to the launch pad. And to answer your next question, that tower is massively behind schedule and over budget because the original contractor that bid for it basically bid half of what they should have. And then had to come back and say, we can't do it for what we bid. We need more money.
And I will say also, just in terms of what that means for the actual Crawler Transporter with that, the Crawler Transporter will be able to take this one as well, Mobile Launcher 1, and when they finally get it built, Mobile Launcher 2. It's basically the way that the Crawler is designed and has been retrofitted and modified here, is that it will just have to have specific pickup points on the new launch pad that it can use, and it's not specific for Mobile Launcher 1. It's just a couple little interfaces underneath, and then it lifts up basically anything for that matter that can fit into those attach points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as we, sorry, I was just going to say one more thing. You know, like as we continue to watch SLS as it nears the vehicle assembly building here for rollback protection from Hurricane Ian, which is now expected to be a major hurricane upon approach to the Florida West Coast, and still a good deal of uncertainty in the track of where it's going to go. You know, it is worth noting that, you know, while this is disappointing in many ways, and it's okay to feel disappointed that SLS had to come back, that it is, you know, a delay for it. You know, I think it's important to bear in mind a couple of things here. One, you don't take a risk when you have a hurricane like this. You pull the vehicle. This is a multi-billion-dollar vehicle. You pull it from the pad. You protect it when you absolutely need to, and then realign the schedule after that. But do not let the schedule drive any decision about a hurricane and protecting this vehicle. So this was absolutely the right decision to come back, especially since some of the models are now talking about a very, very close or direct impact of Ian potentially to the Kennedy Space Center now. It is also worth noting that, you know, the other issues that we have seen with SLS, even though NASA is targeting them as launch opportunities and that makes them a bit more public, it is worth remembering it took them 15 goes. It took them about 15 tries with the Saturn V right, of all sorts of fueling tests to ferret out all of those issues that permitted it to launch on its very first attempt back in November of '67. There were just over a dozen fuelings of the shuttle with Columbia before they got all that figured out, and that's what allowed Columbia to launch on the second attempt after a computer failure on the first. And remember too, SpaceX took a long time to build to the cadence that they are today. It is very easy to forget that. But everything that we are sort of seeing with SLS, while you can be disappointed and you can want it to be doing better, right? This is pretty on par for gigantic rocket systems coming online in terms of the issues that they're seeing and how they're working through them. And then you're in Florida, so you have a really you have to watch the weather, and for years and years and years we've been fine. And it sucks that SLS drew the hurricane card on its first outing, but I think we can all agree we'd rather them protect it and roll it back and just take the month or two hit that this might be to them, and then have a successful mission.
100%. 100%.
Real quick, I haven't had to move the cameras in a while, so it looks like they've stopped here just short of the VAB, and I assume we'll see the swing arm moving pretty soon. It has not been moving since it sort of got behind the LCC there.
Also, Teamworm.
And Teamworm, yes.
Just for you, Jack. I just full screen zoomed it all the way in.
Thank you. It is filling me with joy.
There's even a person walking around in the level just above the swing arm too.
Oh,
which
that's
would be
cool.
Which would be a good indication that the spotters are getting into position on the tower for the arm move. Yep.
Do you think it's wobbly up there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't know. In my head, it's like you're gonna feel some sway when you're up at the top of the tower. Well, at least while it's moving. But maybe it's more robust than that.
I mean, I would think so. Yeah, there's got to be some give to it, right?
Yeah. Like your animal brain probably knows that you're moving, and the structure is so large around you. It's probably like, wait, am I moving? Because this stuff isn't moving, but I feel like I'm. What I mean?
Right.
Like if you've ever been on a really large ship or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I bet you it's just like you said. Like you get your C legs or your CT legs or whatever.
Your CTT legs, you call it transporter tower. Okay. Anyways, Johan M in chat says, "Say again, why the crawler broke? We found a phone outside the tracks. It's being investigated."
I hope it got completely crushed. It does not power on. Yeah,
it turned to dust, and then they sprayed water on it.
Yeah.
Good luck recovering anything
the
off of it.
SIM card was removed. Like, wait, what?
Oh man.
Jeez.
Scott Boone asking if there's been damage in the past to the vehicle assembly building. I believe there has.
There has, yeah. The most recent one was the 04 hurricanes, Charlie, Francis, and Jean, which hit between August and October of 2004. Charlie did some damage to the VAB, and then Francis, if my memory is correct, Francis was the one that did the most. Took some panels off the side of the VAB. The internal structure was fine, but did do some damage to it, and it took them a few years to get it all like uniformly repaired and everything. So yeah, but those panels are also sort of made to pop off to a certain degree for pressure equalization within the building. So it wasn't like, oh my god, it ripped a panel off and it wasn't supposed to do that. Some of them are actually meant to pop off for pressure equalization if needed.
The crazy ghost of future past sounds that the VAB makes. Sorry, vehicle assembly building makes.
Yeah.
Is that the doors, or is that those pop off panels, or is that just the structure? Or
I'm pretty sure it's the panels that we're hearing vibrating when the Falcons are taking off like that.
So
My
cool.
understanding is the panels.
So cool. I just if you guys don't know out there, when a rocket launches and the conditions are right, if you're near the vehicle assembly building, it kind of does this horrible and amazing like ethereal howl. Sort of like almost like cheering on the rocket, like yeah, let's go. It's really cool. Highly recommend.
I don't know if we would want to share, but yeah, it's also good to know though when the weather pops off, the panels pop off.
Oh, I love it. I got to get on your guys' level. I have to have some more coffee here.
Well, it's
Um,
7:30 for us, but it's like, I don't know, super 30 for you, Jack. Like
Yeah, it's Turbo 30. Yeah,
turbo 30.
also known as 430.
Okay.
Um, as evidenced by my nonsensical words. Let's see here. Julian's asking about the FTS. How have we not talked about the FTS yet? Now that they're rolling back, will they recertify the flight termination system batteries? How is that going to work? Do we know?
The answer is yes. They did say in the briefing on Friday when they first started talking about monitoring the storm that if they did have to roll back, they would take the opportunity to redo the FTS and recertify it. So they will redo that. At the very least, they will redo that in the VAB. Yes.
Got it.
Is that one of the? I mean, I don't know, but there is someone up there that was like leaning over the railing, looking, and you were talking about spotters being up there, right?
Yes.
Either that, or he's gonna like throw down his hair or something and try to have a prince climb up and save him. It's like a Juliet balcony thing. Like, look at this up here.
It really is. Look at it. Like it's like the special little viewing platform for that. But yeah, so that's one of the spotters because as the arm swings around toward the hatch, there on the side of the launch abort system, aero covers and everything. They want to have that human there just to as the extra pair of eyes as things are moving.
And Jack, I got those two. I got the closer in shot and then the little bit wider shot here. And the wider shot looks better without the lower third. Like I've got a little bit of orange in the bottom there. So
Orange good.
if you want me to reframe it, tell me now.
Nope, I'm happy. Thank
Is
you.
this good? Okay,
Yes.
cool.
I would never even dream of giving you notes, Das. Excellent work.
Well, no, I'm thinking about it. I'm looking at the cameras and I'm like, okay, if we edit this into a video, how should it look? So,
No, I love it.
trying to help out.
It's dead on center frame. I'm a happy guy.
Nice.
You might as well just call me Mr. Center Frame. And no, I did not say Mr. Cellophane. Let's see here.
You're not stuck in my head, thanks.
Yeah, Mr. Center Frame. Okay, no copyright strikes today. Okay, so we were talking about the flight termination system. Westy the Third is asking, can we expect any more work on SLS in the vehicle assembly building, or is it just the world's biggest garage in this case? I mean, people were asking about the cracks that we saw on the foam. Do we expect any other kind of work activities?
Yeah, actually, depending on how long they actually. So this is sort of where I say, comes down to what they want to attempt in terms of the launch windows and where they want to aim for, right? If they want to aim for October, I would expect sort of the bare minimum amount of work that they absolutely need to do, redo the FTS. And then get back out, right? If you want to aim for October, I still personally think that's tight, but it sort of depends there. If they end up going for November, I wouldn't be surprised if they put a lot more of the panels, the access platforms down around the vehicle to do those sorts of things, like to get a bit closer to the foam, see if they can do some non-destructive evaluations of that just to gather as much data as they can. They're probably going to be looking at life leading items, which basically is the NASA term for what are the components on the vehicle that are nearing their life and would need to be swapped out on the vehicle. Now that does not include the solid rocket boosters. The solid rocket boosters are still okay. They are still good. So there's no concern or anything like that for October or November with the solid rocket motors and solid rocket boosters. So we're good there. But yeah, some of the other life lead items might take a look at again, depending on if they opt for October or November.
Got it. I'm kind of in a similar vein. I don't know if I can find it now. I just lost it. Oh gosh. Oh geez. Oh gosh. Somebody was asking about the rocket's been stacked for a long time. The solid rocket boosters are coming up on, I think, 2 years, and they're certified originally for a year. I mean, anything in terms of stacking or destacking that we think might need to happen? Hopefully no. Not even close, right?
No, I really honestly would not be worried about that. No one has sort of started talking about that in any real way. What they've really sort of focused on here is, minimizing the number of times they have to roll the vehicle back and forth because of the vibrations and the loads and things like that. But But again, the biggest thing from a stack life limit is the solid rocket boosters, and they're okay. They really truly are okay. In terms of what they're doing, they're going to process another waiver though for their life extension on that. But I don't want people to have the sense that they're just willy nilly going, oh yeah, cool, keep it stacked, or anything like that.
No.
There are decades and decades of data of solid rocket boosters and motor segments that have been stacked like this. So no, Northrop Grumman, all the subsidiaries that used to be different companies that are now under Northrop Grumman, they've got a lot of data on this. The boosters are fine, and they are reviewing that data, and they're not just doing a willy-nilly sign off. They really are looking at everything to make sure they haven't overlooked something on them. So the boosters really are fine.
All right, ATK. I miss orbital ATK.
I know, right? Yeah, and to be fair too, the propellant inside the solid rocket boosters is also absolutely fine. To my knowledge, Northrop Grumman was talking a little bit about a Minotaur flight a couple of years ago, where the booster segments that were used for the Minotaur were over 30 years old, and not just the segment casings, the propellant, and they had been around, and some of them had even been stacked.
Wow.
And fired off just fine. So yeah, the solids are fine.
Wow. I'm hearing in the back channel from Alex that there's a tweet that they're about to swing the crew access arm, so that we should see that here momentarily.
Excellent. And then from that moment on, that's the last big thing they have to do before they can roll the rest of the way into High Bay 3 here in the vehicle assembly building.
What do you think these two are having a conversation about?
Well, I swear it was orange the other day, Pete.
I really think it would look better in Delta Blue.
Right. Exactly.
Here we go. It's starting to move.
Right.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Cool stuff.
There we go. Watching that arm begin to swing over here, swinging it around to the side hatch before they can go all the way into the vehicle assembly building.
Bring it around town.
Around town. I cannot not see SpongeBob in my head when you say that. Well, you know what they say. It can't go in the thing unless it's got that swing. Do up.
Hey,
Right.
you're waking up a bit.
Johan has a good question here. How come they can't swing the arm inside the VAB? Great question. Clearances. There's not enough room with all the structures within the VAB to swing the arm around. So they have to do it outside.
Makes sense. Beep boop boop.
There it goes.
Yeah, it's going.
Beautiful.
Just take a moment and imagine being that person right there on the railing, one of those spotters, and just what a view of the rocket you must have. What I wonder if that's a part of the job that ever stops being surreal, or if they're still just like. I mean, suffice to say, if I was standing up there, even if that was my 100th time, my gas would be flabbered.
Yeah.
By the way, for all those people who have the questions earlier on when we were talking about SLS of how the crew gets in, how they access it, there's the hatch while we have the close-up that you can see that allows crews to get inside and access Orion.
Indeed. And there's a good question here from Estrame, not sure on the pronunciation. They're saying, so then what is the life limiting factor on the solid rocket boosters? Because we said it's not the fuel. It's the seals between the joints is what they give the limit for. But again, there's a lot of data on that. There are sensors inside of it. There are different computer models that they can do, and to say like it's still okay, right? Like the idea behind the shelf life limits and the life limits here are to say, okay, when you start to do something, you're good for this amount of time without having to redo analyses. And basically all the life limit means here is, hey, if you reach it, you need to redo your certification process as a way of making absolutely sure you're thinking of every possible thing that could come up, you're having those discussions, and you're making the right decision. That's pretty much all. That's pretty much what it is in this case.
Makes sense.
Please stay in frame. Please stay in frame.
No,
I
you're
think
good.
I got it.
You're good. I'm confident.
I think I got it. I don't even think
I think you're good. I really
I
do.
think
It
you
looks
got
like
it.
it looks like it's not going to do it, but you're good. It's because it's going away from the camera now. Oh,
Oh no!
I might have
Oh,
The clinking of operation.
It's okay. The white room is the important part.
Yeah, we're fine.
Right.
Everything's
Yeah. Change the rules. I'm going to change the win condition here.
fine.
Oh wait, I can just do this.
Hey.
Hey.
Oh, I don't want to get too far behind on super chats here. Thank you everybody for the support. Stefan, thank you so much. Jeff, thank you for the support. We really, really appreciate it. Doing these early morning streams, doing all of our streams. I mean, doing Space Coast Live. All things we could not do without your support. Kylie, thank you so much. Taylor Van Camp, thank you so much. Smooth Juice, thank you so much. It's one of those names we see pop up a lot. I've never actually asked you, Smooth Juice, what is Smooth Juice? Like, is it a smoothie?
Can we talk about it on stream? Like,
Yeah. Moving on. They say thank you from the UK. Stay safe out there. Also, what's going on with less than 1,000 likes? Smash the like button, folks.
there
I
you
like
go.
how they spell folks. And Sam Halter, thank you for the support. They say, good segue from a spacecraft going 15,000 miles per hour to 1 mile per hour. Thanks, DOS and Alicia, for the coverage of DART last night. NSF has so much more of a life and fun than NASA and SpaceX coverages. You guys are the best. That's really sweet of you to say, Sam. I really must say, I don't know if Alicia's still around in chat, but I know you're around, DOS, and holy cow, that was just like, I mean, I said it before the stream, and I really meant it. It was like a party, but it was like an information-filled party. The vibe was so fun on that stream, and if you guys haven't checked out our DART stream, I mean, we had live reactions from, what was it, the principal investigator? Is that the right title, DOS?
Yeah, the guy who came up with the idea for DART while exercising, he said, as he waved his arms around and accidentally turned off his camera. But it was the principal investigator, Andy Chang, with Johns Hopkins University Advanced Physics Lab, and he was there, and he was watching with us live on camera as they got the first images back from that Draco camera on DART, and they actually saw. Are you allowed to walk on the arm right now?
That's cool.
yeah, yes, you are. Once it extends a certain level, if it's not moving, you're allowed to be on. You're allowed to walk it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, sorry. But yeah, the DART thing was absolutely fantastic last night. So happy we're able to do things like that. And Sam, thank you so much for dropping in. Good to see you again, and stay safe out there, please.
Yeah, if you're ever gonna go and go back and rewatch or watch one of our streams that you missed, you should absolutely 10,000% go watch the DART stream, because it is
Yes.
it's a joy. It's a pure and utter joy.
And I mean, I was smiling so much last night watching this. I mean, like, my face muscles hurt because of the one thing that I absolutely did not expect was the resolution from the camera.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and I knew I knew it was going to be sending them back, but I didn't realize NASA planned to actually just show us in real time the approach to the asteroid. And, like, I really thought it was going to be like the final few moments. We'd get the pictures, we'd see the data. But I mean, that was just absolutely incredible to see all the rocks and all the boulders and all the pebbles just come into perfect crystal clear view. That was incredible.
The nature of how the camera refreshed every like 2 seconds or whatever. And so we, none of us knew what the last image was going to be. And so it just kept getting better, where it was like, oh, wow, you can see all the rocks. And then it got even better. And you're like, oh, wow, you can see like everything. And then it gets even better. And then bam, it just smacked right at, like, oh, wow. What
I loved too was like the final image that it sent was a partial image, because like it didn't get a chance to transmit all of it before impact. Like that was also just one of those like mind blowing, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did that. And some of those the telescope views that we got from Earth of the impact are just incredible. Yeah.
And from my side, the first time watching it was incredible, seeing the pictures and the impact. But then it was amazing as you played it back, watching the principal investigator looking at it, staring off of the screen, and just reacting real time to what he was seeing too. That was so unbelievably cool.
Utterly delightful.
Oh my gosh! I mean, just yes to all of that, right? Like I've never been able to see a PI react in real time, like and them not be in mission control, right, with everyone. Like to see the personal reaction was incredible.
Yep. I mean, he
I'm
was
not-
in his office. Like that was his office that he was dialed in with us from, and he was watching on his computer in his office, nobody else around. That was like his pure reaction to this mission that he had worked on for so long and got the first images back from. It was just so cool.
Yeah, like I'm not sure the exact number, but I think it's probably safe to say decades of his life spent working on this project. So, yeah. Anyways, go check that out if you missed it somehow. Utter delightful stream, and then of course we also got we got literally the entire space internet just dunking on Dimorphos, just like in your face. That was amazing. The memes were also a joy. Anyways. Let's see what we got here. We'll keep answering your questions. Keep your questions coming as we get this crew access arm moved into place. It looks like it's stopped for a second. Is that normal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we saw the person walk out to the end of it. They're probably working some of the, there's the seals that sort of go. Maybe there's something in there that has to be extended out to sort of touch the rocket or something. I bet that's why they brought it to a halt. And then somebody walked out there to do some stuff. And then they're going to, I imagine, we'll see them walk back up. Then it'll start to swing the rest of the way there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Can I ask a profoundly stupid question? But I think I really want to know the answer.
Hydrogen goes up.
Oh, Sawyer, I thought we were friends. Why? You cut me so deep. I'm just gonna mute myself. Good luck. You're host. Go ahead. Host away. I'm leaving. Bye.
Jack offered to mute himself. This
Oh
time?
my
I don't even have
gosh!
to do it.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, Jack. Come back.
Oh, it is moving right now, y'all. Look,
Yes,
it's
it
going
is
very
spinning.
slowly right now towards the capsule rocket shroud, whatever you want to say.
Oh my gosh.
Bad now.
But anyway, yes.
All right.
But Jack, I really want to know what your question was, though.
No. It was okay. The question was: is the crew access arm? And again, I said it was a stupid question. Is the crew access arm sort of like a jetway at the airport, where there's like a set of controls in the white room, and that's like when they get close to the capsule interface, they're like moving it from a set of controls there, or is it controlled from elsewhere? Like I'm curious as to where the swing is controlled from, and if at any point it's controlled from like a little console in the white room.
Does it have one of those little wheels on it? You know, like the little wheels
Yes.
on the side of the plane. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Exactly
No.
what you're talking about.
You know, that is a very good question, because when they sit it down on the mobile launch platform, it can all be automated, right? All the movements can be automated, but I don't know how automated it can be when you have the mobile launcher picked up on the crawler. That's a very good question. Now I want to go ask that and figure that out. That's a really good question, Jack.
Yay. Unlike my asking if hydrogen is heavier than air. What's wrong with my brain? Please send help. SA, thank you for the support. JW Petch, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. We super duper extra appreciate everybody that supports the channel however you can. And we extra appreciate the members of all the supporters, because the members give us, a little bit of money every month, whatever level you can support at, and the different levels have different perks. And at Capcom level and above, you get Discord access. At PadRat level, you get some behind the scenes stuff, photos and videos that go up on the channel. Or is that Red Team? I might be misremembering. Either way, PadRat, you definitely get a members only emoji, which I'm going to throw some SLS hug emoji into chat because I can.
One day we'll have a thing we can show on the stream that shows what you get at the different levels. One day.
Yeah, that needs to happen.
Good thing.
Let's see here. But thank you so much, JWP. SA, again, thank you for the support. They say they bet November for a flight because the liquid hydrogen and LOX plants will shut down for the storm, and it'll take a week to start back up if no damage. I did not think of that.
Chris, I think you and I were actually talking about this at the last Artemis attempt, is that those facilities that actually make the LH2 and LO2 are not the ones right near the Cape. They're actually from, I believe, Jacksonville and West Palm Beach areas.
I know the hydrogen comes from West Palm Beach, and the LOX is closer to the Cape. There is a liquid oxygen production facility in MIMS now, so some of it might come from there as well. But you are correct. Like the majority of the propellants come from a little bit further away, but are definitely the oxygen parts are definitely in the impact path of the storm. So probably we'll have some shutdowns there. It's going to depend where it ultimately goes in terms of what happens with the hydrogen production facilities down in West Palm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's down near my neck of the woods, actually, where I am right now. And, we're still keeping an eye as the cone continues to shift here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm keeping an eye on this as well, just like as a status update. We'll keep the arm there, but out at the port, you can see that secondary crane sort of behind the Falcon 9 there. And what they do is they hook that secondary crane up to the bottom of the Falcon 9, and then they lay it over horizontal. Like one crane picks up the bottom and keeps it off the ground, while the main crane lets the top over. So if that crane gets hooked up there, it's not hooked up yet, it doesn't look like, but I did see it extend out. We may see Falcon 9 go horizontal on the stream here as well.
They picked it up off the stand.
Oh, it is off the stand right now.
It's airborne off the stand. Yeah.
Yeah. It has been picked up. All right. So I'm keeping it. If I see that thing start to go, I'll show you all that as well in the picture-in-picture here, because it really is a cool thing. Like to see a rocket at a 45-degree angle being held by two cranes. If you haven't seen that happen on our fleet cam before, it looks weird when they do it. So I'm keeping an eye on that as we also watch the crew access arm here with SLS just outside the VAB.
I'm still just imagining it as a jetway or rocket way. I don't know.
Rocket way.
Rocket way.
Capsule way.
Oh, and actually, while we've got it here, there are a lot of questions about this in chat. What is the door on the back of the crew access arm?
The one that Wile E. Coyote steps out, and then he holds up the sign that says like "Oops," and then he falls the entire length of SLS.
Yeah, yes. Watch that step. It's a big one.
First step's a doozy.
Yeah. It is primarily for emergency evacuation. Depending on what configuration the arms are in, where they are, VAB pad, elements like that.
They've got a rack of parachutes in there, and what you do is you have to put on a parachute, and you open the door and jump out. No, I'm kidding. I made that part up. That's not real.
Does it interface with the tower?
I don't know.
When it's folded back?
Or any of the VAB platforms, possibly?
Oh, that's what Philip is saying in the back channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you sort of think about it, it's when the VAB platforms are in place, right? So if you need to evac very quickly, you don't have to run all the way down the arm to get to the tower to go. You can just run out that door to the VAB platforms and stuff like that. But also, it's just easier to access in and out from there too.
So in summary, it's not the door of lament. It's not the door where you're like, oh no, another hydrogen leak, and you just walk out of it.
Don't do that. I went to the wider shot because you can see there's not really a spot for it to interface with when it swings back. So it does make sense that a platform inside the VAB would have like a little thing that's right there. You open up the door and there's a VAB platform there for you, a service platform or whatever the right name is for them.
Ian in chat is saying that door is a nightmare for the postman. Let's see here. We were just talking about the fleet stuff. Thomas is asking, will Bob and Doug and the drone ships go out to sea for safe harbor? Safe sea? Safe harbor? Safe sea? Mm-hmm. Gav is probably rolling his eyes.
So the drone ships are actually certified to be able to stay in port. If there are tugs and tenders keeping them up against the dock, but the preference would be to leave port and get out into the Atlantic, or go down to another port somewhere where the effects aren't going to be as bad. But that's basically what they try to do. Leave if you can. If you are going to stay, there are certain rules and procedures that you have to follow from the port authority.
What kind of tenders are we talking here? Like chicken?
So yeah, of the Cajun variety too. Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh, right. In all honesty, to your answer, it's like it's the tugs that
Got it.
would have to keep pushing it against the dock and stuff like that to keep it in place.
This real quick, Philip actually gave us a shot of inside the VAB, and you can see the inside of the white room and the swing arm on the far side of the capsule there. You can see it's a much shorter drop when you're inside the VAB. It's not all the way down the side of the rocket.
Very true. And you also have the stairs there too.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, where are Bob and Doug at the moment? Or not Bob? Are the drone ships? Are they out at the moment?
One is out because one has the booster on it from this past weekend. So one is out at the very least. I am not sure personally if the other one left or not, or if it's still in port.
Joe is asking, since it was ready to launch, do they have to fully enclose SLS with all the work platforms, or can they expedite processing by only using the ones necessary for flight termination system servicing?
Bingo. Yeah, if they wanted to try and do this as quickly as possible, they could put down the platforms, only the platforms that are necessary for the flight termination system, and they would probably also put down the platform, extend the platforms that would go up around the Orion and the upper part of the vehicle, because they will probably want to go into Orion here while they're back in the VAB, or at least preserve that option to get into there as well. And then, of course, if they want to go, if they have time to top off the batteries on the CubeSats, that's all sort of going to depend how many platforms they put around the vehicle. But there wouldn't be a need to put all of them around it at this point.
Yeah, because there's like 30 stories of platforms that sort of fold down. I actually don't know exactly how many platforms there are.
I think there are 16.
16? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of platforms.
That is a lot of platforms. But you don't have to fold them all down if you don't have to access all parts of the rocket.
Exactly.
And Philip in the back channel says 10 pairs.
10 pairs.
10 pairs.
Like,
there we go.
On either side, like the pair is one side of the rocket and the other side of the rocket, I think, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool.
Everybody in chat is trying to name the door on the crew access arm. Which I love. The door to Wonka's factory. One giant leap.
One giant leap.
Is it a Monsters Inc. door? The Nope door?
I hope that the warning on the inside of the door says danger, one giant leap. like literally on the door. Like
that would be great. Okay, and I think enough gallows humor for now. Which I don't think is everything I've ever said in my life. Blind Boy 64, you posted an SLS hug emoji and got a warning from Nightbot. Nightbot can be cranky sometimes, but thank you for the support and thank you for being a member.
Comes down to how many hug emojis you posted. They can get sort of finicky about that too.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Which, we all love SLS here. I don't think there's anything wrong with posting some SLS emoji, so have at it. I'll fight Nightbot for you. But it may win. I'm not saying I'm gonna win. I'm just saying I'll fight.
I was gonna say Nightbot has heard you.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh god, terrifying. I just watched Terminator the other day. This is not a good trend.
It's okay, Jack. It doesn't have arms.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay, let's see here. Whitney and John Cook are asking, will they do another cryogenic test after they roll back out? I think it's probably too early to say. Do we know anything in terms of plans after they roll it back out, or is that just sort of too far afield at this point?
In some regards, no. It's not too far afield to know that. At present, no. They have no plans to do another cryogenic fueling test of the SLS
because they classed the test they did as a success, right? All objectives were met.
They did, yeah. Because they were able to sort of look at the. I admit I'm still a bit fuzzy on this because I don't feel like they did the best job they possibly could have at trying to explain this. Because there were still some disconnects to me, but basically the way I understand it now is all of the weird leaking behavior they were seeing with the big 8-inch quick disconnect seal were more or less resolved satisfactorily when they went to the even kindler, even gentler pressures. So they had already lowered the pressures down from the first attempts, and then when they saw the leak, they lowered the pressures even more to be kinder to the overall system in terms of what they should have been under the original plan. So and it's when they started doing that they said the seal started to behave like it was supposed to. And then the only other sort of head scratcher was when the 4-inch quick disconnect leaked for the liquid hydrogen bleed valve when they went into pressurization for high flow bleed into the engines. That did leak up to around 5%, which with the cutoff being 4%. So there is still some work to do there, and they didn't really go beyond that, aside from saying that things were fine. So if I were a sort of betting person based on what they saw, what they might be looking at here is either the seals should be fine and we'll be good to go on the next launch attempt, or maybe we have a little bit of a tweaking of some of the rules where, like, if you do have a leak above 4%, it's not an automatic stop depending on where you are in the overall process, and maybe you can allow the system time to try to equalize and get that leak rate down into acceptable limits. So all of that is sort of say, no, right now, no plans for another cryo test, but that is also kind of highly contingent upon what they decide to do now that they're back in the vehicle assembly building.
Got it. Guardian is asking and thanks for the super chat also, Guardian, asking, the weather looked good yesterday morning, why didn't they attempt a launch yesterday?
Because of DART's impact. So removing the hurricane from this equation, the reason that September 26th was not a viable launch date is because DART needed a near monopoly on a lot of the deep space network communication systems that Orion would be using once it gets beyond the geostationary communication belt from Earth. So because of that, they needed to keep that part of the resource clean for DART yesterday. And that's why the 26th was not a viable opportunity here. However, even if the 26th had been a viable date and one that they were progressing to, they would not have been able to attempt a liftoff yesterday because of rollback preparations. They needed to start breaking the ground connections yesterday to get it ready for the roll at 11 o'clock. And there is no way you could have attempted a liftoff yesterday and then have rolled a few hours later. It would have been a few days to roll it back, and you basically would have been committing the vehicle to weathering out whatever the effects of the storm were.
Yeah, and Chris,
on the launch pad. So they would not have done it. And look at the Falcon
check
doing,
the Falcon
doing
9
its
in the
thing.
port.
Yeah.
This is wild.
Yeah, you can sort of see everyone's really getting like, okay, time to get everything indoors. At this point, but yeah, so they never would have been able to attempt a liftoff yesterday with the approach of Ian, even with the absolutely gorgeous weather that we had yesterday, and it was gorgeous here yesterday.
And speaking of DART, it was launched on a Falcon 9, which you are seeing. It's not the same booster, but you're seeing a Falcon 9 booster getting moved horizontally right now, which is just absolutely wild to me. And, this is the sort of thing that we show on Space Coast Live, our new 24/7 live stream of all things Space Coast. And, Fleet Cam, it's sort of like repurposed Fleet Cam, so Fleet Cam has now been rolled into it. And not the first time we've seen this behavior on Fleet Cam, but definitely always wild to see rock. I mean, I would not want to be one of those crane operators, right? It's like it's a couple tens of millions of dollars of rocket just dangling in the air there.
Yeah, it's so weird to see them take it from vertical because it's got the one crane, the big crane on the top of it, and they attach that second little crane to the bottom of it, and they just flip it sideways. It's the craziest thing to see that happen. It's like, wait, you're not supposed to do that with rockets. That's not how this works. And there's no strong back on it. There's no
Yeah.
transporter erector. It's literally just the 2 cranes. And it weighs a lot less because it's not fueled, right? But still, it's wacky to see them do that over in the port.
Absolutely. I mean, it's you say you're not supposed to do that with rockets. I feel like you're also not supposed to do that with cranes. Obviously, it's completely nominal behavior, but it's just it's cool to see. Anyways,
Yeah. Here we go. We'll get a little zoom on it there. But
nice. What booster is that? A 10
67?
67? I believe it's 67.
Yeah, 67. I read the ticker on Space Coast Live, and it is 1067.
Nice.
Assuming the ticker's correct.
If chat, if you guys have questions, feel free to throw your questions into chat. Just a small reminder that you can do that, and we'll answer your questions. We've kind of blown through a lot of the ones I've sort of pre-staged here. So now, if you have a question you've been dying to ask and hasn't been answered, maybe now's a good time to ask it. Here's one from Daily Dose of Space. Do we know when the next Falcon Heavy is scheduled? People have big rockets on the brain.
They really do. The overall Falcon Heavy manifest has really been interesting over the last few years. I know I know one of the big ones coming up here, USSF 44, was originally October of last year, and now it's October of this year. So for Falcon Heavy, the next one up is currently no earlier than October, and it is USSF 44. So that is the next one that is currently on the manifest. Following that, the Viasat 3 Americas and Arcturus mission is scheduled to follow in November as of right now. And then after that, it looks like December for USSF 67. So actually, right now, one a month, starting in October for the rest of the year is what the current schedule looks like for the heavies.
Hopefully that holds. I can't imagine. I mean, they probably just got so much Falcon Heavy hardware laying around. They're dying to get put to use.
Mm-hmm.
What is, if you know, what is the USSF 44 payload, or is it like classified or something?
It is a classified mission.
Spooky. See, that was a test. If you had told me, then you would have been in trouble.
Right. There's an immediate knock on the door, like, "Hello, we're from the NRO." Like, but what is cool about the USSF 44 mission? So I mean, it's classified. There are 2 payloads understood to be on board, but one of the interesting things about it is the total mass is only 3,700 kilograms, or only 3.7 metric tons, very light for a Falcon Heavy because it's a direct geostationary orbit insertion flight. So you need to leave a lot in the second stage to do it, and it will actually be the first direct geo flight for SpaceX.
Wow, I wonder. I wonder, like, what kind of G loading the second stage will impart on that payload, as it's so light. That's fascinating.
Oh, engine throttling is going to come in handy there. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, very much so.
Look, on the fleet cam, you can see the transporter that will carry the rocket back into the Cape rolling underneath it right now. They got it horizontal, and you can see that little Y that's moving forward. That's that multi-wheel transporter that you see them driving around the Cape. It's driving underneath it right now, so they can let it down onto the transporter, I guess.
Which is so cool, because that is a former space shuttle transporter. That's what used to carry the orbiters between their orbiter processing facilities and the vehicle assembly building when they would go over to get mated to the tanks. And SpaceX bought it from NASA when NASA no longer needed it, and now it transports another reusable vehicle around the Space Center.
It's nice of SpaceX to schedule this for when there wasn't really anything moving with SLS. Like, SLS isn't going inside right now or anything, so it's like, okay, let's watch the cranes work on the booster over here at the port, and then SLS will start moving as soon as they let it down, hopefully.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Energy. Let's see here.
It is dangerous mentioning the word shuttle around Chris and I. Just saying.
No, it's like it's the opposite of dangerous. It's like the best possible thing you could do. Like, if I need time to add more questions to the queue or do literally anything, I can just say something about the shuttle tangentially and buy us, a solid 5-minute discussion of something quite interesting.
It's like the NSF punt. Like if we need to buy time,
Yeah.
we just say the word shuttle and then we get 5 minutes to do whatever it is we need to do.
And we all appreciate it. No,
For real though.
Yeah. There's a good question here from Blaine that we do get sometimes for and saying why not recover the core stage of the SLS instead of throwing away the RS-25 engines? And the honest answer to that is the core stage is basically left at at orbital velocity, but with a very, very carefully shaped orbit that technically leaves the orbit suborbital. So the perigee for the core stage at MECO, at main engine cutoff, is negative 30 kilometers above Earth sea level. And that is so the core stage, we know exactly where it is coming in. We know exactly where it's going to be destroyed in the atmosphere. And we can keep it from coming down uncontrollably over land, unlike the CZ-5B core stage from China. Which just sort of comes in whenever it wants, based on atmospheric conditions. And we've seen a lot of photos of big pieces of that reaching the ground, which would be the same for the core stage of SLS. So we purposefully dump it into the ocean, but it's the first part of that. The fact that it's at orbital velocity, it makes it really, really, really hard to recover it for reuse in this regard.
Philip had a really good point in the back channel. Recovering the core stage on SLS is like recovering the second stage of Falcon 9.
Exactly.
Because the SRBs yeet the core stage up to almost orbital velocity, and he keeps going on. But the core stage is almost like the second stage of SLS because it's got those huge SRBs that provide, 80-90% of the thrust at liftoff. It's like most of the thrust at liftoff is the SRBs, correct?
It is, yeah. I believe it's it's either 75 or 80% for SLS.
Something like that,
My understanding is 80.
Yeah. It might,
Yeah,
and I think
thanks.
you're right. I think it's closer to 80. Yeah, sorry there, but during first stage flight, and that's what it's called. It's called first stage flight, and then second stage flight for the core stage. So those boosters do an incredible amount of the lifting work out of the dense lower atmosphere before, and as you said, Das, like they yeet it up there, and then they go, okay, you you do the rest of it. You do
the rest. Okay, have a good trip. Bye.
Yeah.
I love it.
Unless the question is also relating. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, I wonder also if the question is relating to the solids themselves, because the solids used to be reflown during Space Shuttle as well. And
that's exactly what I was just going to say. Go for it. Yep.
Oh, yeah. So it is the same type of segments that were flown on Shuttle. In fact, each of the segments that's flying did fly on Shuttle missions. Those were originally 4-segment boosters, though. These are 5. So it has the extra segment. And then in the top portion of the nose cone, you would typically have the parachutes that would allow it to splash back down. And then you would have 2 recovery ships that would go out, bring it back, refurbish it, and so on. This one, they do not have the parachutes in there, which saves them a little bit on weight. And it's honestly kind of a way to use up the legacy shuttle technology as they work on building even more efficient boosters for the future.
The Bolet boosters, right? The carbon case ones?
Yes.
Yes,
indeed. And this is an interesting thing, right? I mean, it's actually cheaper to throw the solid rocket boosters away than it is to maintain a recovery fleet, maintain recovery hardware, get them back, transport them back, refurbish them, refill them. With the way manufacturing has changed, it's just easier and cheaper to throw them out.
So where was that? Dave in chat says it's time for 1067's bedtime story. Go to sleep and good night.
It looks like it's being lowered right now.
It is, yeah.
The gap is closing.
It's about to be on the transporter here momentarily.
Yep.
Instead of a bedtime story, it just has to, instead of counting sheep, it counts starlings.
Hey, I love it. You make that gif.
I mean, it's cool to see the Falcon 9 go horizontal there onto the transporter, so I'm going to leave it on the screen. I've just been doing the 2-pip thing here, and if we see SLS start to roll, we'll go back to focusing on SLS, but it's an interesting thing if you haven't seen it on Fleet Cam before.
Sure enough. Yeah, no, this is I mean, the theme of today is as the ticker says, SLS is returning to the vehicle assembly building to shelter from Hurricane Ian, and the Falcon 9 would be getting moved horizontally and all of this anyways as part of its recovery and refurbishment process. But the theme today is battening down all the hatches and getting things all buttoned up in anticipation of hopefully not getting walloped too hard, but getting walloped by a hurricane.
And you are correct. That is the theme of the day. Batten down all the hatches. Yep.
And we have a poll in chat. Enjoy shuttle side stories? There are 3 options. One option is yes. One option is yes. And one option is for sure. So thank you, Chris B, for putting that poll up in chat.
I was gonna say, I wonder who's behind that.
Yeah, right. I certainly really do legitimately enjoy the shuttle side stories because it's such a big part of the history out there. So I'm gonna vote yes.
Good choice.
Good choice. Good choice.
Let's see. Shane Harris, thank you for the support. They say door of leaking hydrogen, but man, I think they could ride that hurricane wind if they launched, save some Delta V. That's hilarious. And Aaron Hyde, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. We hope you enjoy your member perks. If you're not a member and you think you might enjoy being a member, I think you would enjoy it too. Definitely consider going right below your timeline there and clicking through and seeing what the perks are and deciding if that's something for you. We would appreciate the support. We literally could not do what we do without all of our members, so thank you, members.
By the way, if these 2 videos that you're seeing on screen aren't enough, this is the perfect reason to check out our Space Coast Live for when we're not commentating, just to see this stuff happening constantly. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so floored that we were able to get Space Coast Live up and running. And by we, Das and Michael, thank you for getting that all ready to go. It's so cool that we get Fleet Cam was already really cool. Just look at what you're seeing on the right. But all of the different bits and bobs that have been added and juiced up, it's amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. To be out there installing cameras at KSC, knowing we hadn't told any of y'all at the time, but knowing that it was for new 24/7 coverage because we're going to see Starship operations start to spool up at 39A, and then we have SLS out there and then rolling out and all the different things that happen. It was really awesome to be able to put that together so we could share this stuff with y'all as another way to keep up with what's going on with spaceflight. I have seen quite a few people asking what the plan for the cameras is with the upcoming storm. And right now we are planning on leaving the cameras out. We'll make the decision as to whether or not we leave them online, but they are secured into a fixed position, and we are planning on leaving them. We actually did a final inspection, a closeout yesterday on them, and made sure that everything was secured, nothing was loose. And right now the plan is to leave them out, but we have not made the decision as to whether or not we will leave them online, visible for people. We'll see how things are going and make that call. But Space Coast Live, not going anywhere. Fleet Cam will be on. I think the biggest risk is power. So the cameras don't have a backup generator on them or anything like that. We don't quite put that much into them. But we will see. It is possible that we might not be able to keep them going if there are power outages around the area because we don't have any sort of long-term power generation for them. So anyways, I did see a lot of people asking. We are planning on leaving them out. We did some specific work to make sure that they were secured, and we will make the decision as to whether or not we leave them online as we go. But I think the biggest thing is, will they still have power? Because I don't have a secondary power source for them out there. So,
well, you didn't. You had me go to Home Depot and pick up the radioisotope thermal generators. You didn't install those, buddy?
We could almost power the cameras with an RTG, but I don't think NASA would. You thought the paperwork just to put the cameras was a lot of paperwork. Installing an RTG at the press site is even more paperwork than that.
Got it. Okay. No, that makes sense. Dap Dude and I were on the same page. He literally made an RTG joke at the exact time. What's up, Dap? Same wavelength. Let's see here.
There's connectivity. Some people ask about the connectivity. The cameras have multiple ways to get online. They have their primary connection and then a backup connection, but they do rely on the local internet working, right? So we don't have right now. We don't have a Starlink deployed out there. We have a few Starlinks deployed around McGregor and Starbase, but we did not deploy a Starlink at the Cape. I mean, we've got a fiber line at the KSC. We don't really need to put a Starlink in. But if it goes down, maybe in the future we'll look at something like that. I just don't want my Starlink to take off and end up on top of the VAB roof or something like that.
Makes sense.
You just want an excuse to go on the VAB roof now.
No, twist my arm. Can you imagine the view if we had a camera up there looking down at SLS as it comes in the doors? That would be cool.
Oh my god, it would be so cool.
Start that paperwork and see you again in 2 years.
Right? Or at this rate, probably more like 6.
Yeah, right.
Stephen Hodgson, thank you for the support. They say, thank you, NSF, for allowing us to watch and enjoy the day-to-day life of all things space-related. You're welcome, buddy.
Nice.
More
Chris.
support, and we'll keep doing more cool things. So thank you for the support, because I think it's safe to say we all love doing this. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we all genuinely care about spaceflight and getting things moving towards the future in a meaningful way. And the fact that we get to hang out and share all of this with all of you and have fun doing it. It makes stupid jokes. I'm sorry. I apologize for the stupid jokes I make, but for real, it's so fun. So thank you to everybody for the support.
So Chris B in chat said, hit like to wish the cameras well during Ian.
Yes.
One like equals one good luck for cameras during hurricane force winds. Like, whoa, okay. Again, y'all, it is, I mean, we joke around on the stream. It is something we take seriously. We did go and have like visual inspections. We checked all the connections, checked for things that are loose. Like we did spend almost the entire day yesterday doing almost like closeouts there on the camera. So even though we may joke about that, it is something that we take very seriously, and we are going to keep an eye on what's going on there as the storm approaches.
Yes, sirree. Good note. Good to note there. Wait, is it? It's not. No, it's not moving. I'm just losing it slowly.
I keep looking.
Right.
The Falcon 9's almost down. You can see the people on the front of the transporter there sort of working on the Falcon 9, but we'll go back to full screen SLS. I can guarantee you that it hasn't moved because I haven't had to change the cameras. Like it screws off one side of the camera, you know?
You know what's really fun about this view is we've been watching SLS rollback. We've been noting the people on the mobile launch platform, on the crew access arm, the spotters. So we've gotten a sense of scale for both SLS and now Falcon 9 with people as the benchmark. And Falcon 9 is a big, tall rocket, don't get me wrong, but looking at it sort of in this context, side by side with SLS, both with people for scale, although not necessarily SLS right now, but you get my meaning. It's like, to me, I can contextualize in my head, which is often a hard thing to do. Falcon 9 is much smaller than SLS, which obviously, we knew this, but I don't know, something about having humans for scale and a side by side like this. I don't know. It's making my brain happy in like a, people ask me like, oh, how far away is that, you think? And I'm like, I have no, or like, how tall is that, you think? I'm like, I have no idea. I'm a terrible guess, but this is kind of nice, getting context.
Yeah. I mean, it's like on the right, you have the low Earth orbit workhorse of the Falcon 9, and on the left, you have the lunar behemoth. And it's really cool to see like the two different systems that are here for two completely different things. Right?
Can I just say, the lunar behemoth, PLB, would be a better rocket name than SLS. I'm just gonna throw
PLB, yeah.
Mega moon rocket.
Stop it.
Loses to lunar behemoth.
Yes. Okay. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
That's
thought
where
you
I
were
was going with
advocating.
that. No, I
Sorry.
was not. I was advocating it.
I have a visceral reaction to Mega Moon Rocket. I apologize.
I mean, but seeing those two,
Go ahead.
seeing the two vertical is quite an interesting spectacle. I mean, it's been that way for a couple of Falcon launches where you go out and you've got the Falcon up and then SLS is out at B. And it's just something really cool, especially back when it was Axiom, I believe, in April, when you had Falcon 9 at A and SLS out at B. And you get that scale of, I mean, yeah, SLS is certainly bigger than Falcon, but they're both pretty beastly.
Yeah, I'm not a rocket scientist. What's the, like, it's like the fineness ratio? Like, Falcon 9's a very tall rocket, as rockets go, right?
At 70 meters, she's pretty tall, yeah.
At least tall for its diameter. I don't know. I forget how that all works. Am not a rocketonomer.
And it seems like it's also gotten taller over the years. That may just be me, but from the early Falcon
you're right.
9s all the way up till now,
They've
things
stretched it.
gotten even more beastly.
I think they've stretched it about as far as they can go. Again, not a rocket scientist, but it's something to do with the fineness. It's like Neil in chat is saying the ratio of the height to diameter.
Ratio, yeah.
At a certain point, you max out on that, and I think Falcon 9's like about there, which is wild.
Falcon 9 got ratioed. Got it.
Yeah, nice. Loopy, what's up, Loopy? In chat saying, how do we feel about the latest hurricane models? The Euro seems to be coming right at the Cape. I don't like that.
Yep. So this is part of the uncertainty that they kept talking about, right? And right now, Ian is a Category 3 hurricane located over Cuba. The eye is actually over the western portions of Cuba right now. So it's about to emerge into the Florida Straits and the Gulf of Mexico here. And yeah, the Euro and the GFS models, American and European models, colloquially as they are known, are pulling this more and more to the east, a little bit more south in terms of the predicted landfall location for both of them, and then basically cutting across the state and then exiting back out into the Atlantic. I know one of the most recent runs of the Euro does have it going basically over the Kennedy Space Center at this point. Now, there are different runs of the Euro. There are different runs of the GFS that they all do, and then those, along with some of the other models that are out there, are what the National Hurricane Center uses to create the forecast, the warnings, the predicted track, and everything like that for where this system might go. But yeah, it's definitely not what we would want to see, but it's the reality that we might get. So that's why I say, like, when they made the decision yesterday to come back because of the uncertainty in the track, we are seeing what a good move that was, because we keep talking about, like, as the paths change, as the storms wobble, as we finally get the sense of where they actually went, right? In the history of their track, that all sort of helps align where they're going to go, what their intensities are going to be when they get here, and all of that sort of comes together to inform where the path is going to go. And a little bit to the east, and Kennedy gets it worse, a little bit to the west, and it could have been fine weather. But what we're seeing is one of those trends where it went the wrong way for Kennedy based on what we're seeing right now. So pulling it was the exact right decision.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. And again, even if you looked at the models just a day ago, they were going more towards the Florida Panhandle, and now it's starting to turn a little east. So it can change quickly, for better or worse.
All
Talking
right.
while
well,
muted.
Yeah, talking while muted.
Yeah.
We're still waiting, folks. We saw the crew access arm swing over to connect to the top of SLS and up to the Orion capsule up there, and it has not begun, or I guess resumed its roll back into the VAB right now. And at the same time, we were watching them process that Falcon 9 over in the port. Looks like the Falcon 9's down on the transporter, but it's usually a little while. They still have to remove the cap from the top of it. You see that sort of structure that's around the top of the rocket. They've got to take that off. There's like a little crane involved, blah, blah, blah. They got to disconnect the back crane. So it's going to be a while before that rolls out. So we will go back to our full screen views of SLS here, which is stopped just short of the VAB. And if we see, I don't think that Falcon 9 is going to roll before we see it, but if I do see that moving, we'll switch back over there, let you see it.
What is the text on the launch escape system, like, tower right there? What does that text just say, like, point away from face?
Let's see.
This end up.
Yeah, right.
Like when they were mounting the shuttle on the 747.
Yeah, I love it.
Black side down. Yeah,
That was
I
it,
love
yep.
that. Yeah, that joke was hilarious.
I don't think I can quite get that text for you. I'm going to cheat a little bit here, Jack, and we'll see. But we may not be able to resolve what that text says.
No worries.
Jack. I'm sure if you go back to your launch photos, you've
Whoa!
Not quite though.
That is insane zoom.
No, I cheated though. It's digital, which is why we can't read it.
Yeah,
I just tried
Chris,
to
I think
punch it in.
I think you're right, Chris. That's at least, if not me, at least somebody I'm sure has a photo with enough resolution to make that out. Anyways, I just wanted to make a dumb point away from face joke. Whoa, geez, that is insane. I don't care if it's digital.
Still great shot.
Couldn't quite get it for you though.
Now, DOS. CSI Miami taught me you can just enhance.
Oh yes, enhance. Let me pull pixels out of places where no pixels
Yeah.
exist. Great.
Chris.
Yeah.
Come on, CSI Miami and not Blade Runner. What's going on here?
No,
We gotta talk.
I went with the Futurama joke since you were on stream there.
Okay, fair. I'm
I'll also accept like over 3, down 5, print. Like
Yes,
I
thank
would
you.
have got that as
Thank you.
well.
I'm always waiting for the Blade Runner reference.
Yeah.
Can't get enough of it. Let's see here. Or we could go Super Troopers and just say enhance. Shane Harris coming out of left field asking, will SpaceX refit Falcon 9s with Raptor engines at all? No. That's
Exactly.
that's a totally different rocket.
Yeah, that's not a thing.
That's called Starship. But fair question. There, I'm gonna say it. There are no bad questions unless you're asking if hydrogen is heavier than air. That's like an objectively bad
Jack.
question.
Who would ask that?
But I think just a small technical point to why Falcon 9s can't be retrofitted like that. The tanks are the wrong sizes. The kerosene to oxygen ratio is not the same as methane to oxygen ratio.
Yeah, you'd have to resize. You have to resize the tanks for different fuels, and then at that point, you just it's with completely different engines, completely different tank sizes, just completely different rocket. It doesn't make sense. But
Yep.
fair question. I mean, Raptor good, so it's a natural thing to ask. Or at least we hope Raptor good.
So far, Raptor good.
Yeah, so far
Yes.
I would concur. Raptor good. Darren is asking. Just got to the stream. Just got to work and pulled up the stream. He must have a cool job. 30-second recap. Who wants to do a 30-second recap?
I can do it. 30-second recap is Hurricane Ian is traversing across the Cuban island here in the Caribbean. And NASA yesterday, due to track uncertainty with Ian, decided to pull SLS from the launch pad and return it to the vehicle assembly building. That operation got underway around 11:30 local last night and is in the final stages of wrapping up here. They are just outside the doors to the vehicle assembly building and High Bay 3 where SLS will shelter. You can see some rain in the background there, that nice little rain curtain, not an issue for the rollback, but they just moved the crew access arm into position alongside the Orion hatch on the LAS. So they should be getting ready to finish the roll here momentarily. But that is the basic recap of SLS. And for the weather recap, to the east overnight, there's now a prediction of Ian making landfall as a major hurricane somewhere between Tampa and Pinellas County and down toward Sarasota and Fort Myers, all in the potential landfall zone right now. And the Euro and the GFS are continuing to try to picking up on a shift a little bit more to the south. And one of the latest runs of the Euro model does actually have a landfall around Fort Myers and then a trek across the state, exiting back into the Atlantic, very close to the Kennedy Space Center. And GFS is kind of picking up on the lower, more southerly landfall points as well.
We're getting like a small dropout from you every so often, Chris. I don't know if there's like a cord you can jiggle or what. It wasn't too bad. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, we could hear most of that. I actually have that latest model, and I think the important thing here to understand is that this is an unofficial, something put together unofficially by Levy Cowan with Tropical Tidbits. So it says real big, do not use this map to make decisions, seek official info. I'm going to say that out loud right now. This is the latest model runs that he put together, showing that it is almost hitting Florida right smack dab in the middle of the western coast of Florida, the Gulf Coast of Florida there.
Exactly, and this is also exactly what the GFS and Euro are starting to are picking up on as well,
Yeah.
and cutting this across the state. I mean, at this point, it's really just going to come down to this has a lot of vibes from Hurricane Charlie of 2004. We should not use that. Just like this map, you shouldn't be using this for decisions, and you shouldn't use the past for decision making either. But Charlie came ashore as a Category 4 hurricane in Port Charlotte and came racing across the state, exiting out near Daytona. And it was still a Category 1 when it reached Daytona. They think this is going to be a lot weaker as shear starts to tear this apart a little bit. But there's uncertainty in the path, and there is, to some degree, some uncertainty with the intensity of what this will ultimately be when it reaches the eastern side of the state.
By the way, for those wondering, just going back a couple minutes, the question of what that text was, it's a whole bunch of serial numbers.
Oh,
Like,
see, somebody in chat was saying
use by date.
Yeah, pretty much. Revision numbers, all the stuff that when you need to call up the company to complain, it's when they ask for the serial number, that's it.
somebody in chat said, if you can read this, you are too close.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering if that's rain in the background, yes, that's rain in the background. Although I'm not sure, is it reaching the ground or is it doing the thing where it evaporates before hitting the ground?
That looks like it'd be reaching the ground. Yeah.
Fun fact: that second thing is called a virga.
What now?
Virga, like when you see rain, but it evaporates, like it doesn't actually reach the ground because it evaporates first.
Oh.
I'll be darned. I didn't know that.
I don't know
I
why I
didn't
knew
know
that,
that.
but I do know
Nice.
that. Yeah, VIRGA, if I'm not mistaken.
Isn't that an astrology sign?
It might be. I don't do.
I'm more into astronomy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't do pseudoscience, or at least not that one. LSR, thank you so much for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. If you guys got gifted a membership just now, be sure to thank LSR in chat there. That is awesome of you. And if you didn't get gifted a membership, but you're thinking about it, or even if you haven't thought about it, check out the membership program. I can't say this enough. There's so many cool perks. There's behind the scenes stuff that gets posted. I mean, do you want to see me get almost left behind at pad 39B at remote setup for SLS? That's a video on our membership program. Do you want to see cool behind the scenes remote camera setup from the last Delta Heavy? That's a thing on the membership program. Do you want stuff that from content from Mary and Nick and Boca Chica that goes live before it goes in a daily video or what have you? That's on the membership program. I mean, there's members only emoji. There's the members Discord. There's all kinds of super cool stuff. And I don't want to talk your ears off about it for too long, but just suffice to say, the membership program is awesome. We're constantly trying to look for more stuff that we can do for members, and that's all because we can't do the things that we do without the members. It's such a huge part. It's grown to be, it's continuing to grow, and it's just a huge pillar that helps support everything that we do. So thank you to all of our members. Thank you to LSR for gifting those 5 Red Team memberships. And if you're even thinking about the membership program, just thanks for thinking about it. I mean, become a member or don't. It's your money. Do what you want with it. But yeah, there's my hard sell.
I'll take 50.
Yeah. I'll pay $50 for one.
Just me, or we have movement again.
Oh, it's moving. Yay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's get this thing back in the barn and buttoned up and get teams as much time as possible to sort their home lives and, get battened down the hatch. You batten down hatches on land, or is that only a ship thing? Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Oh, I well, it definitely started as a ship phrase, but we definitely use it here in Florida for land, like securing and everything. Yeah, so that's exactly what we say here as well. And I think what you just said there too, Das, is a very important. Jack, was a very important thing. There has been this weird narrative that got going that NASA was not giving their employees time to prepare for this. Just want to note for everyone here, I don't know where that came from. not true at all. Numerous NASA folks have reached out saying that they had more than enough time over the weekend and on Monday to make the preparations that they thought were necessary. Obviously, with the track changing, people's comfort levels of what they're preparing for are going to change, but NASA gave their employees time to get ready for this. I really hope that's very clear to everyone out there. That is part of why they are rolling back so close to the storm's arrival, is because that's how they try to sequence things, is to give the employees time ahead of time and then move back as late as you possibly can while still being safe.
I have to sneeze. I'm going to mute myself. Somebody vamp.
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah. But yeah, and to all of you here too, I would say, like a lot of us are very focused on the rockets. We're very focused on the missions, and how will Crew 5 be affected? How will ULA be affected? How will the other SpaceX missions be affected? To that, I really have to say, like, based on the forecast here, it's really time to stop worrying about the effects that this is going to have to the space program and really start focusing that energy and those thoughts into the people who are in the path of this storm. And I don't say that lightly, because I am one of those people. Jack, your parents are in the path of this storm. Sawyer, you very well could be as well if it shifts a bit further south. The workforce here, all the families, and starting to think too about, like, how can you assist? Because this does look like it is going to be bad for the western side of Florida, especially. So, be thinking about relief efforts and how you might want to help the people of Florida as well once Ian does pass us by.
Absolutely. Yeah, and not just my parents, both my brothers too. That's not fun.
No, it's not. So, I mean, I know one of our team members had to go to Tampa to evacuate family overnight. So, it really is starting to be a moment of think about the back end of this if you're not in Florida, and how you might be in a position to help those who will need it after this storm goes by.
Yes, indeed.
Very well said.
So
and
we're
actually,
seeing-
I
Go
will
ahead.
actually use that as my sign off. I actually do have to go to finish preparing my home and my family for this. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. For all 3,500 of you who are watching this, as she takes those final few creeps into the vehicle assembly building. But for now, that's going to do it for me. I will leave you with Jack, Doss, and Sawyer to handle the final few moments of the roll in here.
Cool. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you,
Thank
and
you
stay
much.
safe.
Yeah,
You all
Chris,
too.
Thank you for spending some time with us today, and I'm sure you have a lot to do, so we'll let you go. Thank you again.
Thank you much, guys.
Alrighty. Oh, Cat Herder Cam, thank you so much. Also gifted 5 Red Team memberships. How kind of you. Thank you so much. Seriously, once again, couldn't do what we do without the members. So if you just got a membership, be sure to go into chat and thank Cat Herder Cam. Super kind of you, Cat Herder. And then be sure to check out the perks that you just got access to.
Absolutely. And if you did get a gifted membership, make sure to say thank you as well.
100%. Control Frazzle is asking, are they putting mannequins in the rocket where the astronauts would usually go? I think there are,
There
sensor
are,
equipped.
yes, there are. There's
ahead.
one full mannequin, or as NASA's calling it, a moonikin, as well as
Oh my god,
two.
seriously?
Yes, legitimately.
Oh my god,
as well as 2 other
Sorry,
half
go ahead.
moonikins, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. But the main NASA one is Commander Moonikin Campos, which was named as part of a naming contest online. It is all inside already and suited up in one of the new spacesuits that they'll be wearing on board. And in addition to that, there are also 2 mannequin passengers, for lack of a better way to put it, called Helga and Zohar, which will be used to help test radiation throughout the flight.
Is there like a sheep too or something?
There is, yes, there is a sheep as well as a Snoopy. So,
Are they
this
friends?
sheep, I believe, is part of the European Space Agency.
They keep them in separate parts of the module because they don't get along. I'm kidding.
It's Shaun the Sheep, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
It's and it's I immediately you said that they keep them in different parts of the capsule because they don't get along. I immediately think of MythBusters. Like one's like Adam and like super super like happy go lucky, and one's like Jamie, and just like very chill. By the way, Das, we were talking about camera shots and framing and stuff earlier. This is chef's kiss. This is excellent. I love this.
Thanks, Jack.
Not that you need my validation, but I mean, I like it.
I appreciate it. I had the other one because I wanted to see it like going in the door. And the funny thing is, if you're watching Space Coast Live, I'm showing all 4 cameras on Space Coast Live all the time, so you can see me reframing the cameras even though you don't see them on the commentary stream. So people can see me like, a little bit left, a little bit to the right, wait, zoom out a little bit, wait, zoom back in. Okay, good, go. And then I use it over here, but you can sort of see behind the scenes if you're watching that other stream, which shows all the cameras at the same time. So, anyways, thanks, Jack. I appreciate you mentioning that.
No, just the placement of the NASA logo, just how everything is lined up. I gotta love it.
Yeah, it makes the logo on the side of the building look huge as well because we had that context
of the
people. Yeah, and you look at it and you're like, oh, that's a big logo on the side of the building. Oh, ping pong balls or buses or whatever, right? And knowing the size of the people on the little walkway on SLS, we were zoomed in on that, and then backing that off and looking at the size of the logo on the side of the building. It's just good grief. That's a huge logo up there. I like it. Really pointed right at our camera.
And they just they like, I don't know about just, but I remember being out there for say like in-flight abort or STP2. It did not look this good until relatively recently. Like they went up and repainted it, and I can only imagine the amount of paint and the amount of work that it takes to sort of get a logo of that size.
I mean, when they repainted the flag alone, that was 500 gallons of paint.
That's wild.
And just so you guys are aware, the size of that meatball is, I believe, about 100 by 130 feet wide. It's a total of 12,300 square feet.
Holy cow. Dare I say, that's a spicy meatball.
Thank you, Jack.
It's spicy has nothing to do with size. It was a real stretch, but it's called a meatball, so here we are.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
Jimmy J, thank you for the support. They say they live in Pinellas County, in Pinellas Park. They're worried about a direct hit. Evacuations are mandatory, hoping for the best. Hope everyone in the NSF is safe and families are okay. Indeed, and right back at you, Jimmy J. Hang in there. This can't be fun, but we'll all get through this. You'll get through this, hopefully safe and sound, and no property damage and all of that. It's not a great situation. Just hang in there and thank you for the support.
Yes, please stay safe.
We're all pulling for you, and I know Chad is too. We're all one big space fam here. Tim, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Super kind of you. I'm loving the gifting. A lot of times people might not automatically consider doing a membership program, and the gifting is cool because people that might appreciate it but might not otherwise look into it or might not even know about it can get in on the membership program. So thanks for doing that, Dwayne. No, not Tim. Oh gosh, I lost it. And Ron Smith, thank you for the support. They say Moonikins lost chance for Mooninites. Oh, Mooninites. I'm just gonna leave that one there on the table.
Nice.
Something light bright, something Boston. No Mooninites here, please.
Nice. What a wacky time that was.
That was insane, was it not? And I'm gonna just leave it there for fear of getting like a loud knock on my door. And it's like, FBI, open up.
Jeez.
Peter asking, what is the solid rocket propellant? That's P-band, right? Is that I'm trying to remember what that is. What the acronym is for.
Yeah,
do you know off the top of your head?
It's polybutadiene acrylonitrile?
Acrylonitrile.
Yeah. P-band is
Nice.
correct. Like that's why it's called P-band, because I can't pronounce the rest of it.
100%. Is it accurate to say that it's like essentially rubber, or like a rubber type density compound? Or why do people always refer to solids as like burning rubber? Or am I thinking specifically of like Virgin Galactic there and their like hybrid motor?
I think that might. I don't know. I don't want to like say it's like rubber. I haven't like touched it or rubbed my face in it or anything like that. So, I don't know.
Yet. Oh, and Jeff in chat is saying, does it have aluminum in it? That is part of. That's part of the mixture, I think.
Yeah, there's atomized aluminum powder, in there. Yeah.
Times.
Wow.
You know it's going to be a party if you have atomized aluminum powder.
Oh yeah. Kidding me? I bring that to every party I go to.
I'm turning 35. Come on over. It's BYO AP.
Yeah, BYOA.
Oh,
Bring your
no.
own aluminum.
BYO AAP.
AAP, nice.
Atomized aluminum. Okay. Anyways.
There's an app for that.
What?
AAP app.
Oh my god.
That's more of like an op. Like, app's got 2 P's.
What have we done?
As SLS very slowly enters the VAB here, we
We're
continue
slowly
to keep
losing our
ourselves
minds to
occupied.
it.
Is that a little camera hanging off the side of the?
That looks like an upside down mounted Axis camera that you are
It
so familiar with.
does.
Yep.
Huh. How do I get access to that one?
Right? A lot of paperwork and a couple more years of work on Chris G's part.
Yeah, I didn't recognize that earlier. Usually I'm like, ooh, a camera. And I don't like, certainly that's not on a stick that like came out the door. Maybe it's just when I zoomed in, it became a little bit more obvious. Huh. I'm going to zoom in on that later.
And
I'm not going to
real
touch
quick-
this now so we can time lapse it. Go ahead, Jack.
Real quick, Mask Dingo in chat is saying P-band is the binder, aluminum chlorate or ammonium chlorate is the oxidizer. Thanks, y'all.
Yes.
Hilton Partinez with high praise, perhaps the highest possible praise in chat, asking, "Is this being directed by Stanley Kubrick?" Das, you just got compared to Stanley Kubrick. That's
good, right? Is that good?
what?
It's not
come
like
on.
Wait, they're not saying I have lens flares. They're not saying I have explosions. So
No, they're saying it's really good. Also,
Thank you.
maybe like really slow, given that,
Really slow,
like
yeah.
2001.
Yep.
But also good.
Yeah.
Also good.
Thank you. We need some like orchestral music, like, you know, sort of gonna get copyright strikes. Hopefully that song is old enough that it's not a copyright thing, right?
See, I was gonna go the other route. We need like Arlie Ermy like in here yelling like, "Get in the vab, you maggot!"
Totally different.
I was thinking more interstellar music, but I could see either one.
Everyone, pick your poison. Let's see here. Oh, the NASA launch director team is like, "I demand satisfaction." If anyone's a Barton Fink, anyway, or was that no? That's not Barton Fink. That's Anyways, Stanley Kubrick, good.
Folks, you
Moving
don't
on.
have to put up with us much longer. It's almost inside the VAB.
Exactly.
Soon we will shut down the stream here and you will not have to listen to us so early in the morning. That is a thing that is coming up. But anyways, I'm going to keep watching it until it is completely gone from our view here. That's for sure.
Ryan is asking, is a destack a guarantee now? I heard rumors about destacking to check the booster's health. I don't think that's by any means a guarantee.
Correct.
Sawyer?
I haven't heard anything about destacking the entire booster at this point. I mean, the main things that they will probably do when they're in there is take a look at the flight termination system and verify everything with the with those batteries, and maybe if they have time, check the CubeSats, possibly double check any of the connections if they learned anything during the cryogenics test down by that LOX line and the liquid hydrogen line, but no word of destacking anything. Plus, that would take quite a while to do.
That's sort of a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, there was a comment that went by in chat that I want to address real quick, and it was sort of to try to make a joke, right? Talking about, hopefully the hurricane hits the launch pad now that SLS isn't there and it doesn't hit the VAB. And I know you were trying to make a joke, but I want to point out a hurricane is not like a tornado. If a hurricane comes through, it hits everything. It's not like, you see the path of destruction of a tornado through a town. It's like, oh, this building got hit and then this building didn't get hit. Hurricanes are huge, and a hurricane coming through the coast destroys a huge swath of the coast. It's not just like one building or the other. So on the one hand, I know you were sort of being facetious there, telling a little bit of a joke, but realistically, where the hurricane goes, it is a dangerous area for a long distance in all directions. It's not very targeted like a tornado. If you've seen those aerial shots, a tornado path of damage, right? Hurricanes are huge storms.
Yeah, and the other part of it is like the sustained nature of a hurricane versus the, I think, relatively transient nature of a tornado, where a tornado like happens relatively quickly and passes or dissipates, whereas a hurricane can like sit in the same spot, and you're just getting that wind level and that rain level just sustained for hours, which is kind of wild.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking hundreds of miles wide in this case for this storm.
Yeah, and I realized, like, I wanted to address that because I would guess that the user may be from the UK or somewhere else where they haven't experienced a hurricane or don't really know the difference between a hurricane and a tornado and other sort of windstorms. And so a hurricane is orders of magnitude larger than a tornado. So if it comes through, it hits everything, and everybody needs to prepare, and every structure is in danger when that hurricane comes through.
I don't like it. I would love for this to be done and over with and everyone's safe. Hopefully by this time next week, that is the case.
Exactly.
Cat Herder Cam, thank you for the support. They say I'm taking my memberships back for these terrible jokes. Sorry.
No.
Somebody in chat said Shinji, get in the VAB, which Neon Genesis Evangelion is close to my heart. So the 3 people in chat who know what that is, we all laughed together. Oh, Clemenjim? There's no way to pronounce your name. It needs more vowels. But thank you for upgrading the Capcom membership. At Capcom and above, you get Discord access. So we have a membership Discord. It is, suffice to say, vibrant and a fun place. Yeah, I use vibrant as a euphemism for sometimes chaos filled, but in a good way. And there's a party chat where you can just kind of go ham. There's a sports ball. There's tech chat. There's all different channels in there. There's channels dedicated to SpaceX, to Artemis, to Space Coast Live. All kinds of cool stuff. So members Discord is like one of the best perks I think that we offer. We offer a lot of cool perks for the membership program, but the Discord is like, that's kind of like, at least as a member, my personal favorite perk. So definitely thank you for upgrading there, Clemenjim. We hope you enjoy the Discord. Pop in Discord and say hey at me.
I think Clim Jim, but
yeah, Clim Jim. Now I want a Slim Jim.
It's like snap into a Clim Jim. Like,
yeah.
Wait, what?
Oh my goodness.
I love it. I love it. Let's see here. Here's a wacky question to fit the wacky mood. Cameron Whiteman is asking, is it possible for SLS to jettison the RS-25s like ULA is hoping to do with BE-4s for reuse? I love that ULA calls that smart reuse. Like, just excellent branding there. Sawyer, is this insane plan possible in any way or nah?
I think insane in the membrane is the safest way to put that. No, I don't believe that's possible, especially with the way that SLS is already designed. And again, you're using, the RS-25As, which are slightly upgraded from Shuttle, but it's essentially Shuttle legacy hardware. So eventually, once that runs out, the plan will be to use a different, more efficient engine as they continue to develop them. So for now, I think it's honestly the smarter way to go in the case of this rocket.
Yeah, I mean, their Aerojet Rocketdyne is producing new engines, and once they run through the stock that they have, they'll use the new ones. And yeah, like you said, SLS is kind of already designed. It's not trivial to bolt something like that on to a existing design.
Right, and it's a great way to use already proven hardware, and while you have them sitting there, rather than let them waste away in a warehouse or sit in a museum, might as well put it to good use.
Something. It belongs in a museum. That's my best Harrison Ford.
Okay, Indy.
Dwayne Mellinger just throwing a grenade and saying meatball or worm. I think we all know worm. Anyways, moving on.
Oh, don't. Oh, no.
Sawyer,
I am a meatball man. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't think we've ever had this conversation since you've joined. But you've just divulged that you're a meatball man. And I got to say, buddy, I think now we've gone from friends to rivals.
Oh, I mean, I enjoy the worm. I have shirts with the worm on it. But if given the choice between the two, I would go meatball.
Masked Dingo in chat says, I suddenly like Sawyer less.
Jeez.
Ouch.
We'll have to get the
Right
meatworm
in the
over here for
meatball.
him.
The meatworm or the worm ball?
The worm ball.
Worm ball. There, I would be on board for that. How about that? I would meet in the middle.
Oh, let's see here. All in good fun.
I know, it's okay, Vestingo. I know it's a joke. I appreciate it.
As we watch SLS make its last little scoots into the VAB here, sorry, vehicle assembly building. I'm really trying hard to overwrite that part of my brain that just wants to say VAB.
It's a
You can say
Kerbal thing.
VAB, that's fine.
As we watch it head into the VAB here, I'm remembering that we just watched a Falcon 9 get buttoned up on Fleet Cam, and once Jake is asking, they have another booster just offshore. Just offshore of the port on Just Read the Instructions. Are they going to get that ashore and safe today? Do we think that's possible?
I think it's possible, but I'm not 100% sure on the timing of that, especially if it's sitting right off the edge there. It's a matter of, again, like,
question.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is
That's
a
definitely a Gav question.
And we have a poll in chat.
Yeah, I see it. I see the title.
The poll is titled "Prove Sawyer Wrong."
I see it. I see how being welcomed here.
Team Worm is at 52%, now 54%, and Team Meatball's at 46%. So objectively, Sawyer is wrong. Let's just move right on without letting him give a rebuttal.
We're only 230 votes in. There's still time.
All right,
Polls are closed.
Yeah.
Jack's declaring a winner. The polls are closed.
I love it. Oh man. Let's see. Here we go. Charlie Cushing is asking, what are the big white boxes on the tower, the backside of the tower, with the big white pipes coming out of them on the side facing away from SLS? We can see 3. Do you see the 3 white boxes with the pipes, the plumbing coming out of them on the backside of the tower?
There you go.
Do we know?
There
what
we
those
go.
are?
Yeah, now I see them. Thank you, Tess.
It's some sort of, I mean, it looks like a pipe going into some sort of box, like a filter or radiator or conditioner or some sort of equipment that you need more volume to manage. But I can't say exactly what those are on the back of the tower. Huh. That's a good
They
question.
appear to be some kind of either a generator or some air filter or something of that kind, but I would have to look closer and see exactly what it is.
It's like, does it have an intake side and an outlet side? Is it like sending something through there? Like, I'm not exactly sure what those are. Maybe that's something we can find out, but a good question.
Yes, very good question.
Let's see here. I don't know if we know the answer to this one, but Computer Hacker or Compu Hacker is asking, what is the nominal cost of the disposable portion of SLS? Could it make it to a higher orbit to be recovered much later? Like just a core stage, just like floating around in orbit? I don't think that's a thing. But what is the nominal cost of an SLS?
I mean, again, talking the reused, the expendable parts, pretty much every part of the rocket is expendable with the exception of the Orion crew capsule. So you're basically talking the cost of the rocket at that point, which, I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it. So, I mean, the cost of production and all that of the rocket itself, I mean, you're looking, I believe, at about $4 billion per launch.
Woof. That's a lot of money. That's like what, 2 aircraft carriers just crawling along into the vehicle assembly building at a mile an hour?
It's definitely not cheap, that's for sure. And if you're talking about in terms of using like one of the tanks or the first stage kind of as an extra piece in orbit, I mean, there were talks originally about converting things like space shuttle external tanks into space stations and modules, but
yes,
I don't think that's in the plans anytime soon with the SLS core stage.
Gotta say though, I wish it was somehow. I remember that being a thing back in early shuttle days. Like, oh, what if we use external tanks and make some kind of insane space station out of it? That would be so cool, but not a thing, unfortunately.
It was a really cool concept, but no. I mean, we still have the International Space Station, which is pretty darn awesome. So I'm happy with that at least.
Indeed. I think we've even talked about this before. Like, I always think of Skylab and like the massive internal volume of Skylab because it was manufactured out of a what was it, a Saturn V third stage or something like that.
Yep.
So it's just huge, like, so much space instead of just like sort of a series of seemingly small and cluttered tubes.
Yeah, I mean, it's proven. It's proven you can use the tanks or parts of the rocket there, but yeah.
Not currently in the cards.
No, we've got Gateway on the cards next, at least, so we'll
I'm
still have
so
more
excited.
space stations to go.
I'm so excited for Gateway and Dragon XL and Starship Moonlander ship and just everything. It's going to be awesome.
All of the things.
All of the space things as we watch SLS scoot into the vehicle assembly building to be safe from the hurricane. Poll update. Team Worm's still winning, so take that.
Yeah, so all my Meatball fans need to make sure to vote there too, then.
All 3 of the Meatball fans out there.
Hey, there's 45% of the people who are still with me on this.
Sorry, Das, what were you saying?
No, I was gonna say I'm starting to log into all my alt accounts and vote.
Ooh,
Stuff the ballot box here. Like
I've become too cocky here. I gotta tone it down. Let's see here.
There you go. A meatball a day keeps the worms away.
What? Okay.
That was
fresh.
Randy in chat.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'll give it to you. Haruka is asking, how stormproof is the vehicle assembly building? We were talking about that a little bit earlier, right? Like, what did Chris say?
It is
Category 3?
able to withstand up to a Category 3, which is 125 mile per hour winds, exactly. And that's one of the older buildings that was designed, obviously, in the 60s, so there are buildings that can withstand higher, now up to 150 or 155 mile per hour winds, but the VAB can withstand 125 miles an hour sustained.
Gotcha.
And I know we were talking about the panels on the outside that can be used if needed to, basically with pressure, to pop off and protect the inside of the VAB and what's in it as well.
Yeah, I had no idea about those. That's super cool.
Yeah, which I do have the sound from the screeching that the VAB can make during launches if we ever want to play that, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a DOS question, but yeah, I got video of that on one of the Starlink launches that happened during the last SLS series of launch attempts.
That's the one I'm talking about, yep.
Yeah, so cool. So darn cool. Carl Magnus Berglund says we need to get an RC crawler in our merch store, which is hilarious. It would have to only go 1 mile an hour, though.
I was gonna say, you got to make it go slow speeds, yeah.
To scale. You have to scale it down so that the RC car going 1 mile per hour is to the same scale as the crawler going 1 mile per hour. So the RC one would go like, point whatever mile per hour, depends on what the scale is, I guess.
Well, feet per hour, yeah.
It's so hilariously like silly, but I would love it. It would be amazing, and it would be like you could like set it up like, oh my god, have you heard of the pitch drop experiment?
Pitch drop.
I don't believe so.
It's like a whole experiment where there's like some pitch, which is like think like tar, like really, really, really thick tar.
Okay.
And it's like it's dripping very slowly over like it's there's been like 3 drips in like 100 years or something. It's an experiment a scientist set up, and it's like still preserved in a museum somewhere, and every now and then a little blob of pitch falls off, and it's really slow. Anyways,
I have heard of that now. Is that out in California?
I'm not sure where it is, but the RC crawler would be like a weird modern pitch drop experiment. It's just going so incredibly slow. It's like you look at it, you look away, you look back at it, and it's just, did it move? I'm not sure. Maybe in like 10 years we'll be able to say that. Anyways, I'm way out in the weeds here.
Now the question is, would the RC one, would it also be able to lift up a mobile launcher?
Good.
Yeah, it would need to be it would need to be part of the whole set, right? Like
yeah.
It
needs a launch too. Like little Estes rocket motors, and then it launches. You get little Estes RS-25s, however that would work, I'm not sure, and a little Orion crew capsule on top. Like that should be a thing.
That'd be amazing.
Can you imagine the time at the range? Like you integrate your model rocket over near like the setup area, and then you have to use the crawler to drive it out to the launch area, and everybody's sitting there like, "Oh my gosh, this guy! You should have made it go faster."
We have to wait. We have to wait how long? 6 weeks for it to finish rolling.
6 weeks for it to go the like 1.3 mile distance out to the launch pad or whatever.
I love it. Oh, and it's in
man.
Australia. Okay, cool.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the
The
pitch
pitch
drop.
experiment, not the
Yes, the
remote
pitch
control
experiment. No.
crawler. Okay.
Yeah, imagine trying to get the SLS down to Australia. Just crawl down there. It'd make it in a couple decades.
Just crawl across the ocean somehow, like a series of barges.
It just goes on the bottom of the ocean floor. Like the rocket goes underwater like Godzilla, right? Like
love
Godzilla
it.
going underwater and then comes out the other side. I don't think it's
No,
built
it goes
for
on a
that,
barge, but then that barge has to go the exact same crawl speed.
though. Nice.
Crispy in chat says point to point
Point to
with
point.
the
There
whole
you
entire
go.
crawl. Yeah, I love it. It's on brand. It's very on brand.
Well, that's what the crawler does. The crawler is the original point-to-point rocket system. Just
is.
really short distances, and it didn't fly. It just,
Oh man, and so we're almost all the way into the vehicle assembly building here.
This is the part of the stream we're in where we're like, oh my gosh, okay, we've been talking about SLS rolling very slowly for a couple hours here, hanging out with everybody watching this, but it is just about to clear the doors, it looks like.
It's really interesting when you have a building like this for context versus when it's just rolling out in the open. There's different shots where like sometimes you can't really tell it's moving. Sometimes when you zoom in on the treads, it's like, oh, it looks like it's going really fast. Similarly with this shot here, it just feels like it's moving so rapidly into the building. It's almost like, man, what are the clearances there? I hope it's fine. Obviously, it's surely fine, but anyways, it looks like it's moving fast.
That's why I went with the close-in shot here, because the other wider shots, you just had a sliver of the tower left, and this way, when you zoom in more, you can see that it's still moving. So
yeah, exactly.
It's really, it's a great concept of the speed there too. And
all right, the poll's closed. Team Worm wins.
I noticed, which I'm calling it rigged because somehow it's only at 99%. So
oh, huh.
Some people abstained because they don't want to get on one side of the NSF club or the other. Like,
well, we just opened up a can of worms in this case, I'll say. Instead of a
Hey.
can of meatballs.
hey,
Better than a can of worm balls.
oh my gosh. So, anyways, we need these
That
doors
does
to
not
come down.
sound
We're
right.
gonna end the stream. Like,
Let's see here. This is okay, we have a super chat from Sammy. Thank you, Sammy, for the super chat. They're saying, could 2 Starship boosters or 3 Falcon 9s deliver a full tank of fuel in a shuttle orange tank to space? I think they mean the external tank. This is so over my head here.
I think they're talking about the external tank, which,
yes.
first off, it would be way too wide to fit on a Falcon. Even if you probably grouped 3 Falcons together, those are pretty wide. Those are pretty big, the external tanks. If anyone's been to the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex and seen the full-scale model they have there, it's decent. So I doubt that in terms of 2 Starship boosters. Again, size, weight, I don't actually know. It seems probably not, but this is purely hypothetical here.
Yeah, this
seeing
is
a
like
sunset. You know how the sun is like going on really slowly.
yeah. Well, what if we get a
Yep.
green flash? Hopefully,
Yeah, sorry.
I feel like that would be bad in this context.
Oh god, no.
Tom V, thank you so much, gifting 5 red team memberships. Super appreciate that. Once again, cannot appreciate all of the members enough, and really cannot appreciate the people gifting memberships enough. It's a really great way to show everybody what the membership program is all about. So thank you, Tom. All right. Well, it's in the vehicle assembly building. It is in.
Actually, or we can't see it anymore.
Yeah.
It takes them what, like 30 minutes or more to close the doors up.
I think so. I am certainly
yeah.
going to be watching it, but I don't know exactly how long. Can we see like the bottom of it? Because you know how the doors sort of lean. No, it looks like it's clear all the way in.
Wow. Yes, it's in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Those doors do take a while, and you'll probably be able to see them when they do close them on our Space Coast live feed.
there we go. Nice.
The bottom, the back part that sort of leans out a little bit is still just outside the doors, but we are going to keep the cameras going. Space Coast Live, you'll be able to see what continues to go on, I guess, including the doors go down. But what do you think here, Jack Sawyer? Time for us to shut our traps?
Well, someone said no more jokes, so I can leave you one before we wrap it up. So here's the first part. It's a two-parter. When is a door not a door?
When it's ajar.
When is a space door not a space door? When it's a hatch.
Okay. On that note, thanks for watching, everyone. Who's doing
That's an
the
old
outro?
one. Go back to the shuttle days. I had to.
Jack, somebody, please shut the stream down.
I'm still okay. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Yeah, let's all go watch the doors close and everything on Space Coast Live.
That's a thing.
Oof.
We'll see y'all over there, folks. Again, the Space Coast Live streams are going to keep going, and we'll see y'all later.
Yes, thank you everyone for watching, and anyone who's in the path of the hurricane, please stay safe.